Hey everybody, it's Aldo Gandhi, and I just want to let you know really quickly that our swag shop is reopened. DeepDishTees.com is where you go, and that's tees with T-E-E-S. Clever name, guys. They're the new home of our merchandise. You can get t-shirts, you can get caps, you can get coffee mugs, you can get hoodies, you can get all sorts of good stuff, and you'll help out the bar room with the purchase. So head over to DeepDishTees.com.
Some may find the following disturbing. Discretion is advised.
Put the children to bed. It's time for Dan and Aldo to bare their souls.
I love the Chicago Bears more than I do masturbating, and that is a lot.
Then, with 3 seconds left, Bob Avellini throws a 30-something yard touchdown pass to Greg Latta, and the Bears win, and I literally shit my pants. I swear to God, I literally did.
Eric Kramer, for me, I love the guy. He's a tragic figure. I mean, he embodies all that is.
If they don't run the ball here, I'm going to vomit. I swear to God.
Look, I don't mean any disrespect. He just didn't play that well. Not for a guy of his caliber.
You know, they won, but I'm going to be miserable all week because they stunk.
I don't really have any recollection of that at all, but I guess perhaps I blacked it all out.
So, Dan, tape is the ultimate tool for scouts and for coaches to evaluate players, to detect plays and so forth. And they spend hours looking at tape, right? Why do they so often get shit wrong?
Ladies and gentlemen, Dan and Aldo.
Yes, sir, I am with you.
How are you, my friend?
I'm okay. I thought about this definitively, though. If this really is the end of the Matt Nagy era, you know, how many times we've talked about old games on here, and I've sent you DVDs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
In the last 4 years, has there been a game, maybe a couple in 2018, the Rams game or that Viking game on Sunday night was good. Have there been any games during the Matt Nagy era worthy of you rewatching? Like in 5 years or 10 years, you know, when you're like wanting to reminisce. Is there anything in this 4 years that makes you say, oh, I want that game?
That's a great question. Even Tooch is giving me the thumbs up, and backstage he'll be with us in a little while. I would say, obviously, you know, a couple of those games from that 2018 season. I mean, I was at 3 games, and all 3 were spectacular. The victory over the Rams, the victory over the Vikings,
and the Packers.
And the Packers. I was very, very lucky to be at all 3 of those games. And so I really haven't even watched. I don't recall if I watched the TV copy of them. I'm sure I probably watched segments of it. So I would say, yeah, I think they are, you know, and it's unbelievable what's happened to this team. There was so much promise at the end of the 2018 season, even though we lost that heartbreaker to the Eagles. There was still so much promise. We thought we finally got the coach right, that he was young. He's going to learn from his mistakes. We thought that
we were going to the Super Bowl.
Yes, that season I was convinced that if we got by the Eagles, we were going to the Super Bowl. I didn't see anybody else beating us.
Well, the next season, the Bears 100. You know, like the whole when they had that, they brought all the players in and had that convention.
Tooch was there, yeah.
it just felt like that this was going to be our year.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, there was definitely that feeling. Everybody was on a high and stuff. And then all of a sudden it was clear that, the NFL coaches, they spend the offseason looking at tape. So they looked at what the Bears were doing and they were saying, okay, this Matt Nagy offense, there's nothing there. This will be easy. And it didn't help at all that, he didn't make any adjustments and that Trubisky failed to grow. A lot of people complained that on Nagy. And it just went downhill. It went downhill. They finished 8-8 in the following season, the 100 season, and then they finished 8-8 again. And oh boy, yeah, Isaiah Robles says, "Smash that like button." Oh, he means like the button on the YouTube channel thing. Yeah, I don't know, man. This has been one of the toughest eras to be a Chicago Bears fan because, unlike at the end of 2018, where things looked rosy. Things don't look so rosy now. What if Justin Fields fails? It's possible. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's possible. Then we're talking another 5, 6, 7 years of awful losing Bears football. I'm in a bad mood, and this is making me
Yeah, I mean, I feel you. I hope that Fields somehow can play on Sunday, but even if he can't, like, how can you pay Nick Foles $7 million to stand there when Dalton is playing so fucking terribly? Now, I do know that the second interception was Cole Kmet's fault because guess what? He's dropping passes and falling down like he's been doing for 2 years. I'm so fucking sick of this guy getting a pass. But, God, Cole Kmet is a fucking bust, and I'm going to have the balls and the temerity to say it. I'm so sick of this fucking guy. I know he played at Notre Dame, but everybody has to suck his dick because they want him to be good, but he sucks. But 3 of those picks were on Andy Dalton, especially that last one. That fourth one that he on the screen pass. Oh my God, that was fucking horrendous. And at what point do you just put Nick Foles in when his whole MO, that game was relatively close. Not saying that the Bears were going to win, but they were within a couple of touchdowns. And that's Foles' whole career is coming off the bench and providing a spark. Why wouldn't you go to Foles when Dalton is playing so terribly? I just don't know.
Well, it's funny that you say that because one of the media clips that we have, Mark Carman of WGN Sports says almost the same thing. And both of you guys are absolutely right. This is another piece of evidence for the case against Ryan Pace, how he has fucked up this whole quarterback situation. I mean, from the get-go, you had to, in your first year or second year, you had to figure out a way to bring in a new quarterback and get away from the Jay Cutler years. Yes, it was going to be painful, but you're kidding yourself if you were going to win with Jay Cutler at the end of his career here. It was over. It was over. And he failed to figure out a way to bring in a quarterback, and he had a fucking outstanding opportunity to pick up a quarterback in the 4th round, a quarterback that right now is making $200-some million. Dak Prescott. That's right. The Bears had 2 4th-round draft picks that were before the Dallas Cowboy pick, and they overlooked Dak Prescott. And this is Ryan Pace, who said, yeah, I believe in the theory that you should draft a quarterback every year or so. Do you need to replenish that pipeline? He didn't do it. Dak Prescott could have sat Jay Cutler's ass down in that second season of the Pace era. But Pace failed to pull the trigger on picking up a quarterback, and then the quarterback that he picks up next is fucking Mike Glennon. Mike Glennon. God. And he did it as a way to make everybody think in the draft, all the other general managers, that they weren't going to draft the quarterback high up in the 1st round because they got their starting quarterback in that free agent Mike Glennon pick. Fuck you. Fuck you with your going out to dinner with Mitchell Trubisky under a different name because it's all cloak and dagger and shit. Fuck you with that. Fuck you for not taking Deshaun Watson out to dinner and doing the proper thing of having thorough checks on all these guys, all of them. Even Deshaun Kaiser should have been checked out thoroughly, but no. He wanted to play fucking Secret Agent 007 and have dinner with Mitchell Trubisky under a pseudonym and draft and sign Mike Glennon to make everybody think that he was going to do something. Fuck you, Ryan Pace. That's the nicest thing I can say about him right now.
I like your rant. The question I have, this is all jokes aside. I don't know the answer to this. I'm not trying to be funny or witty or anything. What is going on? Because, man, I haven't watched but like 3 games all year that weren't Bears games.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have not been following when the Bears are this down, it's hard for me to want to watch anything.
I hear you. Same here.
Right. Well, what's like in Houston, Watson, I know he had the accusations. He wants women to play with his asshole or whatever, but does he never get to play again? Like, what the fuck? He hasn't been suspended or convicted of a crime. Like, the Texans literally just going to let him waste away? Like, why didn't they trade him then?
Well, yeah, I think they've wanted to trade him. It's a complicated situation. One theory is that the Houston owner wants him to fucking suffer because Watson said unkind things about Houston management. Watson was pissed off that the DeAndre Hopkins trade and so forth. He was just fed up with the organization, and the owner of the team was upset that Watson went public with that, and then all of a sudden, it's like they knew this stuff with the massage parlor stuff, but all of a sudden now everybody comes forward just at the same time that the Texans owner is upset with Watson. I think there's a conspiracy here. Now, it is, to me, I don't want to rush to judgment with Watson, but boy, 20 allegations from different masseuses, that's a pretty damning thing. So I don't think other teams, are interested in trading for him because he might spend some time in jail, because women's groups and throughout the United States are going to be upset. Well, you traded for who? What did he do? No, it's an ugly situation. Probably could have been handled a lot better by everybody involved. But yeah, I'm with you. Watson right now, and it's too bad because he's an incredible talent. Right now is verboten, as the Germans like to say.
If I'm Watson, let's just say next year, before the season starts, that the NFL says, all right, well, this allegation led to this charge or this evidence, and we're going to suspend you a year. Wouldn't you be like, what about the fucking year I just wrote on the bench? Doesn't that count as my suspension? So if they suspend him, he may miss 2 years now.
Yeah.
Because the Texans just haven't played him, which is, it's like they're tanking to try to get a top draft pick. Like, why wouldn't you play him? I get it. He's an asshole. But your goal is to win games.
Yes, I totally agree with you. If he is suspended, it could be time served, but I don't know how they're going to handle that. That's a sticky situation for Goodell. I think that he's got a lot of mud in his eye from how he handled the Ray Rice situation, how he's handled some of the other sexual abuse allegations about other players in the league. So he's probably going to be very, very strict on this. But you got to let the legal aspects play out. Hey, Swanky 32, how are you, my man? We got a nice growing audience here for this show, Dan. I'm so excited about some of the things that we're going to talk about. I think I'm feeling better now that I threw a bunch of F-bombs at Ryan Pace.
Well, that'll make anybody feel better.
I do feel better. I really needed to vent on that. But
here goes another indictment. I think you're about to segue to the piece that you did.
Yeah.
This just illustrates like how far away I am from the Bears right now. Like last season, for example, I did the media stuff and I wanted to. It wasn't like we went into it because this is the second year of the show. That wasn't like something you and I talked about early on that like, well, we need to do this. It just kind of evolved and just kept going. And I was doing it, but gleefully doing it. It wasn't like it was work.
Right.
Now, I mean, I'm like last night, you're like, oh, I'll just do it. I'll do it. And I'm like, fuck, thank God. Like I was going to do it, but it feels like work now. That's how this season has gotten me so down that I don't even want to listen to the Score or ESPN 1000 or WGN or anything. Like when the game's over, I just want to fucking just be sullen by myself.
I'm telling you, Dan, that every Bears season, when November comes along and you know that the team isn't very good, and in some seasons that they're very bad, the traffic gets worse. And I mean, not the amount of cars, but I'm saying road rage. People at stores aren't as nice. There's just an overall nasty attitude in the Chicagoland area. And we're talking about millions of people, some of them who aren't even Chicago Bears fans, but because some Chicago Bears fan just almost ran them off the road. Now those guys are fucking pissed off for weeks. It is true that the temperature of the populace is affected by how your football team does in many cities. And this being a football city, a city that, you know, the Chicago Bears are beloved, and the tradition of winning in the 40s and 50s and 60s and then the 85 Bears and so forth, the Bears are beloved. And to see them in the type of disrepair that they are in now, it gets fucking people ornery. And you're absolutely right. I mean, some people are saying there were as many as 17,000 empty seats at Soldier Field on Sunday. Now, some of that had to do with the weather, but a lot of it had to do with, you know, I got offered tickets and I said, fuck no, I'm not going to go out there in the freezing cold. I got a show to do anyway. But even if I didn't have a show to do, I would not have gone. I would have, you know, I'm always going to watch the game on TV. But to go out there and see that, the only reason I go is to protest. Like Chubbs was in the show earlier today. He says that he wants to go to games and just boo so bad that it's going to embarrass the Bears organization. And that I am for. Go out there and boo no matter what the fuck Eddie Jackson says.
Yeah,
John Santucci has notes for his segment. He goes, Aldo's reading my notes. It's a similar feeling for a lot of us fans, Tucci. It's very true. You were going to say
Eddie,
that?
I didn't mean to step on you. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you were going to say, I was just saying.
I was going to say, I mean, like, if you're going to tell us not to boo you, then, you know, be David Montgomery.
Yes.
Be somebody that's balling, man. Like, don't have 3 straight bad years and then ask us not to boo you.
Love that.
You're one of the guys that deserve. You haven't done anything since 2018. You deserve to be booed.
Yes, indeed.
Since you got paid, you've done nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That's Eddie Jackson.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, yeah, if people are going to boo you specifically, I know that you're better than maybe we give you credit for, Eddie, and we root for you. Because when you were gone, there was a fall off. There was no lie about that. But still, I mean, he's underperforming from the way we saw him play 4 years ago.
Right. Well, and let there be no
3 years.
Let there be no mistake about this. Eddie Jackson needs a ferocious pass rush like the Bears had in 2018 for him to be effective. Without a ferocious pass rush, he's just another safety. In fact, he's worse. He's not even close to tier 1 because he doesn't like to tackle, because he has this mentality that I'm going to go after the ball, but he doesn't go after the ball. He's afraid to get hit. And so make no mistake, this is another one of Ryan Pace's monumental errors, that he was not able to read into the fact that Adrian Amos was better suited for the Chicago Bears than Eddie Jackson. And, you can just go on and on about how awful Eddie Jackson has been for this franchise outside of that 2018 season, where he was greatly aided by that ferocious pass rush. You mentioned David Montgomery. You know,
my God, he's a horse, man.
Oh my gosh. I fell in love with this guy when I heard his press conference, this week after the game. And so I put together a 1-minute video of his highlights and some of the things that he said that I want to share with everyone. I will send you this video because I know you don't have access to a video screen, Dan, but I'll send it to you during maybe the media break and stuff. The mix on the video is a little off, so it's a little difficult to hear his first words, but other than that, I think you'll like this. So here it is, a 1-minute video applauding David Montgomery on his leadership.
I'm always motivated. I want to be as good as I can be.
Montgomery cuts, another cut, a spin, and a first down. Impressive running by David Montgomery.
The entire season has kind of been frustrating with, the losses we've taken, but I'm a fighter. I'm never going to stop fighting. I'm never going to stop giving everything that I got. What you realize and what you learn, stepping into, I guess you could say, a leadership role, or stepping at a point where people watch you, the things that you do happen to carry a lot of weight. So it becomes infectious. Your mentality, how you practice, how you come into work every day. I take a lot of pride in that. So even when things are bad, I'm still going to have high character. I'm still going to be that guy to tell everybody, let's go, let's get it. I ain't got no quit in my blood, so I'm going to make sure everybody else in there ain't got none in theirs either.
That is a fucking leader. That is a leader. And when you see him back up his words with that superhuman effort to fight for every extra inch, he's hit behind the line more often than any other football player I've seen. And yet he keeps fighting and keeps fighting. I love that guy. I love David Montgomery. He's got one more year, 2022 under contract with the Bears. I hope that they re-sign him. Give him a blank checkbook and say, keep leading, keep fighting, write in whatever amount you want there, because this guy is great. He's quickly moving up my list of all-time great Bears running backs.
Yeah, for years, everyone, and I get it. A lot of people, I was never a big Forte guy. Mm-hmm. To me, Forte was sort of, poor man's Marshall Faulk, who's going to catch a pass on a wheel route and then take it to the house, which is great. Don't get me wrong. I was rooting for him, but he never did anything like David Montgomery does with the power and breaking tackles, and never took a beating. Like I said, as bad as the line was for Cutler early on, like I don't remember Forte ever taking the hits that David Montgomery does. So to me, David Montgomery is way better than Forte. I think he's our best back since Thomas Jones.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm a bigger fan of Forte than you are, because the passing game is so important now, and he was an outstanding pass catching running back. But yeah, he wasn't a great in between the tackles running back like David Montgomery is. David Montgomery is a great in between the tackles running back. Really, I hate to bring up the name Walter Payton, but he reminds me a little bit of Walter with that fight that he has. In that video that I just showed, there was multiple times where he's using that stiff arm. And one play, there's a Cardinals guy behind him, and he's stiff arming him. It's like he wanted to put his hand in that guy's face. I love that kind of football. It's like, fuck you, get out of my way, man.
There was a play, I think it was Baker, that he stiff armed when he came up, and he literally just stiff armed him for 8 yards. He just kept going and just literally fending him off the whole time before he was tackled, just with his right arm. He was rushed. The broadcast, the TV copy, they kept praising the game plan, and maybe because there was all that, and was Nagy calling the plays again? I'm just so tired of asking that question, but assuming he was early on, the game plan to run the ball, we should give him credit because it was succeeding.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's just because of Dalton, they got so far behind on these turnovers. It was the defense, during the whole run of Nagy's, even 18, could never get off the field on third or fourth down. And this team here definitely can't get off the field, but to be that undermanned, just to kind of keep us in the game after all those short fields, it's not their fault we lost Sunday. It is not their fault.
I agree. And Dalton threw that first interception on the first series, and then Cole Kmet, the ball is close to the red zone, and he had to hit off his stomach. It's like, okay, bad pass, hit you in the stomach. So yeah, that was a punch to the nuts. I want to address a few of the outstanding comments we're getting here. Bear Truth 9 earlier said that he disagreed with me regarding Eddie Jackson. He thinks that I got it here, Tooch. I disagree, Aldo. I think what he needs, he being Eddie Jackson, are guys. Oh, I had it up there, Tooch. I disagree, Aldo. I think what he needs are guys like Kyle Fuller, Adrian Amos, etc. He needs secondary players who like tackling to cover up his weaknesses. I think that's a great point, Bear Truth 9. Yeah, he needs guys around him who can tackle. And Kyle Fuller, I thought was one of the best tackling cornerbacks in the league. And of course, Adrian Amos was as good a tackler as you'll see in the NFL. So that is important. But I also think that the pass rush helped him with the interceptions. And I think even this season, there's a parallel with Kindle Wilder's poor play and the absence of Khalil Mack. I really do believe that's hurt the rookie. Maybe he would have played poorly anyways, because he's never played this many games in the NFL, and maybe his play was just deteriorating as coaches find out what his weak spots are, and they've targeted him more. But I also think that the entire secondary really needs a pass rush. That's how you get interceptions. It's no secret that you get turnovers when you pressure the quarterback, you disrupt those passes, you put a hand on his face, you tip a ball, you sack him a couple times and scare the fuck out of him, and he's scared now to throw the ball and so forth. Those are all things that sort of pass rush can develop, and we haven't had that. If anything, that's one of the unrecognized things about Khalil Mack, is that he may not be changing the game with pressuring the quarterback in certain games, or even even looking good, but the fact is that he's in that lineup. It does concern other offenses. What do you think about what Bear Truth 9 said regarding that Eddie Jackson perhaps needs more tackling guys in the defensive backfield than a good pass rush?
I think maybe you're both right. Yeah. I mean, I could see the argument for each of you, and I'm not just trying to say that to play it safe down the middle. Mm-hmm. In fact, I'll take that even farther and suggest, now, again, I've seen maybe 2 Denver games this season. Maybe early on when the Bears were still into it. I watched them play the Giants, I think, on opening day. But I know from what I read on Twitter and elsewhere, Kyle Fuller has been benched. I haven't seen that, or why he's been benched. I don't know.
Yeah.
But to me, that's excellent then. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, I would bring Kyle back in the offseason. He's a free agent. Like, you can't tell me, there's no way, even if Kyle Fuller is benched right now, that he's not a significant upgrade over everything we have right now at the corner spot.
Yep. I totally agree. We've got a huge problem in the defensive backfield because of the lack of resources that we have in terms of free agent dollars and draft assets. Who the hell is going to play opposite Jalen Johnson? And what happens if he injures that shoulder that he's had problems with since college? It's a very, very concerning situation. Bear Truth 9 says, I'm more focused on identifying Eddie's weaknesses and how you build around them. And yes, pass rush is a huge part for the entire secondary.
Well, early on in the season, not to contradict him, early in the season, Mack and Quinn were both balling and getting a lot of sacks. Mm-hmm. They had a couple of games that, each of them early on were at 6 sacks or something. Like, they were doing their job before Matt got hurt, and Quinn's still playing well. Where was Eddie Jackson's picks then? You're absolutely right. You're actually making his case and not mine, you fucker. Just kidding. Swanky32 says that, have you anyone seen Matt Nagy's pressers lately? He looks completely different than he did in July, and he knows he's getting fired. Absolutely right, Swanky. I got a feeling that something has happened at Hallis Hall. It's like when that report came out that he was going to be fired and nobody came to his defense, there wasn't an immediate release from the general manager's office saying those reports are erroneous or something like that. And wouldn't it be just like Ryan Pace not to return Matt Nagy's calls? It's like, hey, I need to talk to Ryan. I'm desperate. I haven't been able to get a hold of him in over 2 weeks. Where the fuck is this guy? Right. A lot of people in the media have been saying, yeah, Ryan Pace is in hiding again.
one of the media clips is going to talk about Barry Rosner, who was a longtime columnist for the Daily Herald. He says he posted up on Twitter a picture of Ryan Pace in his booth, and Barry Rosner's tweet was, "There he is again, hiding from everyone." And it's true, that motherfucker hides. And I've got a really nice clip that it's not part of the media segment, but I found it after I put it together. Gary Fensick on the Parkins and Spiegel show talking about a lot of things regarding the general managership and in Chicago. And one of the things he says, the Bears got to get with the times now. General managers talk to the media. It's about being authentic. It's about being straight up with fans and so forth. And the fact that Ryan Pace avoids the media is another black eye in this organization. I agree with Gary, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
You are going to hear now a 20-minute. What's the longest one you've ever done of media stuff?
They're usually around 13, 14, 15 minutes when I do them.
Yeah, I mean, when you first started doing them, I was saying to myself, shouldn't these be shorter? And now that I'm doing them, I'm doing 20 fucking minutes.
It's hard like not to, because there's so much content.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, I need to include that. Okay, I need to include that. So I'll line them up, and let's say I'll have 10 sound bites completely edited and ready to go. So I'm like, all right, now I need to mix them. What order makes sense? And I'm like, then I think, oh man, I'm going to have to cut something. It's too, and then like I find myself arguing like with my own viewpoint, like, no, I got to leave that in. No, I should cut that. So yeah, it's hard. Like,
yeah, it is.
I end up cutting out five minutes or so of shit that I really wanted in there, but I'm afraid everyone's attention span won't stay with it,
I'm with you. I always love it when you do it because I'm hearing it for the first time. I don't usually have the time to listen to the local radio shows, but the couple of times that I've done it, I've come to realize I think the Chicago radio shows probably get a little bit too much heat from some fans. I mean, Chicago fans can be very, very negative on their views on people in the media and stuff. But, Cap and Hood, they do a nice job. The Hamp and OB show, that's always a fucking tickle and a half listening to those two fucking guys go off on the Bears. Parkins and Spiegel, I like. Mully and Haw, I like them too. They get good guests on and stuff. So I think, the Chicago radio media is doing a good job.
I just hate it when Mike Mully is like, it's like he's making a sound. He's not even saying Mully, it's just I can't stand it when he comes back from break.
When here's a secret that I'm letting out of the bag. David Schuster, who worked at the bar room here for a few months, he told me that Mully would show up late for broadcasts. He was so unprofessional in so many ways, and he just felt like this guy, so a great newspaper writer who came to WSCR radio, did some radio shows, and it just he landed there. He's got a fucking great job, morning drive. That's going to be paying, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. But Schuster said that at times he could be a bit unprofessional. But
I wonder what happened to the other guy. What was his name before Haw took over?
Hanley. Mully and
yeah, what happened to him? Where did he go?
I think he's still at the station and does like weekend stuff, fill-in stuff. I don't think he's completely gone from the station. If he is, then it happened after the announcement, because once Hanley was replaced with David Haw, he wasn't let go immediately by WSCI. So I'm hoping he's still there and doing some work. Did you like him?
Yeah, I did. I like Haw too, even like I've told you many times, he blocked me on Twitter, and I have no malice toward the guy at all, and I don't know why he did. But like I said, I just hate when Mully says, "Oh, Ryan Haw." It reminds me of Skip Carey when he'd be doing a Braves game, like base hit, Braves win, Braves win. But it's weird that they took Hub off of their post game on the Score and have Mike Mulligan doing that.
Stephen Nagishi, by the way, says that Hanley is now over at ESPN 1000, the same station that Cap is on, and he does Blackhawk shows with Pat Boyle on the weekends.
I love Pat. Pat, I don't know why he was taken off of the Bears post-game show.
Yep, I agree. There's a lot of talented broadcast journalists working in town. So I know, Greg Gabriel, he doesn't like a lot of them just because he simply disagrees with their opinions and so forth. But I'm talking about, from an entertainment standpoint, where there's some good ones out there. So
Lawrence is good too.
Yeah.
Lawrence Holmes.
Lawrence Holmes is very good. Who else are some of the favorites?
Waddle and Sylvie.
I was just going to say Waddle and Sylvie. Yep. Excellent show. All right. I've got them in here. I've got tons and tons of stuff. Again, it's 20 minutes. Hopefully it will entertain you and inform you. And there's be lots of stuff to talk about on the other end. And then later in the show, I'll play that Gary Fensick interview from Parkinson Spiegel. So here goes 20 minutes of media coverage on the Chicago Bears loss to the Arizona Cardinals, plus what's ahead for the future at Hallis Hall with the general manager and coaches positions.
They just had to sign Andy Dalton in the offseason. They did it in March. And we made March 16th. Got to have him. 1 year, $10 million deal. Andy Dalton's the man. And, of course, then they end up with Justin Fields. Then you got Nick Foles sitting there for $7 million doing absolutely nothing. You can't tell me that Nick Foles couldn't have done exactly what Andy Dalton did today, and you could have added another player that would have helped Justin Fields or helped David Montgomery or helped the defense or done anything. No slight to Andy Dalton. He just belonged on a different football team. And Cole Kmet's got to catch the football. But if you're sitting there and you're George McCaskey doing the math, we signed Mike Glennon. Absolutely had to have him. In 3 days,
$18.5 million guaranteed.
$18.5 million, 3-year deal. He started all of 4 games. Just had to have Mike Glennon. Then 3 days later, you're trading up to draft Mitchell Trubisky. And none of this, when you look at the body of the 7 years of work, it just, to me, it kind of at least somewhat encapsulated into the 4 interception performance for Andy Dalton today that they absolutely had to have. And it was a good decision, by the way. Don't play Justin Fields. He's got cracked ribs. You're going nowhere. This is your franchise quarterback. Take care of him.
There's not a lot to say about this game. There just isn't a lot to say about this matchup between the Cardinals and the Bears, other than to point out this fun statistic for you. Andy Dalton threw for about 240 yards. He gave up half those yards to Arizona's defense, who had 121 yards in returns on the 4 interceptions that he threw. All I'll say to you about it, because you don't want me to spend my time with you in this video talking about the X's and O's of this game. Never forget that their plan was Andy Dalton. Had the draft board not gone their way, had other teams not passed on trying to move up to get Mac Jones or Justin Fields, their plan was that. It was that guy, it was running the offense, and yet another game where you get a charity touchdown at the end of the game, and it'll up your scoring average, but we all know that throughout the game, they couldn't move the ball. And you had so many passes broken up by defensive linemen. Dalton is probably, 6-7 inches taller than Kyler Murray. And he had way more passes batted down by guys on the front line. It's just another embarrassing moment. But never forget that that was their plan. What you saw today is what they wanted their quarterback to be. And even when they got Justin Fields, that was Matt Nagy's plan of the quarterback that he wanted on the field.
Listen, I think we could have had a good chance here to beat this team today. And the one reason why I did, because of the rain and crazy things happen when it rains. The ball tips, slides, etc., and that's what happened today. But the basic football stuff, Mark, that I see, we do not do. The calling, like times when you should go to play action, a bootleg play action, naked play action, sprint outs. You don't do it. You just don't do it. And when it's 3rd and long, you don't go. If it's 3rd and 9, how about throwing a 12-yard out? How about throwing an intermediate crossing ends? You get so frustrated watching this coaching staff. Offensively, we don't attack. We play a checker game, and we can't win it. We just can't win it. It's so damn frustrating. I'll tell you something. And again, and the kids out there, they give it their all. But boy, when it's 3rd and long or whatever it is, and you throw 2, 3, 4 yards shorter for a first down, what the hell are you thinking about? I have no answers. None. Absolutely none.
We're going to work on some creativity.
You had nothing to lose today. You had absolutely nothing to lose. And look at that game plan from quarter to quarter to quarter to quarter. What kind of adjustments did we make at halftime to come out in the 3rd quarter and go after them? None!
Do you think you can compete with Green Bay on Sunday Night Football? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Here we go.
Here we go.
Well,
light them up, Cap.
We're going to try. They got a great question. How about you're goddamn right we're going to come there to compete. Woo! Sorry for swearing on TV. It's cable. We're going to be there to compete. And if you don't think we will, don't cover the game. God, we sound like such losers. Well, we're going to try. We'll get there, and Aaron's really good, and I'm deep down think he's going to beat our ass. Really? Come on, man.
Hey, my kids watch this show.
Cal,
I do too.
I heard it too. I heard it.
It's infuriating.
I heard it the same way. Yeah. Yes.
It's like when Justin got hit late, not one of our guys had the temerity to go over and go, bam! I don't care if you get 30 yards in penalties.
At the what?
Temerity. Yep.
I'm not finna sit here and act like I know what that means.
No, so. I think turmeric too. Turmeric for you, yes.
Turmeric?
You
take turmeric?
Yeah, I thought you were talking about turmeric. I thought you were talking about turmeric.
Turmeric is.
Comes over and drills somebody.
No, right. But listen, this goes back to the Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. It's okay. I own you. That's all fine. You know, all this turmeric. That, you know, so you gotta have all of that. Yes. All of that has to be involved. That elbow, you need to work on that. Slice it a little more. It's not a very good elbow you just threw, but we'll work on that. Look, you can use those. Take the 30-yard penalty, right?
Yes.
But that's just look. This is it's going to frustrate you, but that's the way Coach Nagy answers questions.
But that's where our franchise is, to the point where we just roll over in a fetal position and go, yeah, we made progress. We actually scored 22 points today. Mm-hmm. Can you believe, had they not made the trade for Justin Fields, thank goodness they did. Mm-hmm. That dude who threw 4 interceptions today, and by the way, Mitchell Trubisky never in his life threw 4 interceptions. 2 years ago today, he had 3 touchdown passes, ran for a 4th, and they beat Dallas on Thursday Night Football. I'm not advocating for Mitch. All I'm telling you is we're a freaking embarrassment as a franchise that every week those great fans show up out there and we tolerate this.
But the question they should ask him is, Coach, again, how are you guys going to score points? I mean, I know the takeaways are, that's a problem. But that Andy Dalton, if you watch his film closely now, he's throwing the ball in harm's way a lot this year. And I don't know if he's lost some zip on his arm. We talked about this earlier.
Yep.
But the ball is in harm's way.
You knew Brian Urlacher was running the defense, and you knew Olin was running the offense and pretty much the team. Is there that sort of clarity as to who the leaders of this football team are? And, you know, maybe someday it's Justin Fields, maybe it's Roquan Smith, but who is it now?
I don't know. And that kind of, I guess that's not directly related, but that's sort of in the direction of what kind of culture does this team have? And they've got a losing culture, right? And that's the bottom line. And they've trumpeted their great culture and everything for a couple of years now, as they have not won football games, and that's that's Neverland stuff to me. Your culture is what your record says you are, right? In my opinion. And they lost their claim on high-level culture in the spring when Roquan was just about the only defensive starter to show up for OTAs at Hollis Hall. So if your culture is so fabulous, maybe your defensive starters would show up to work with your first-year defensive coordinator. So leadership, one voice that I thought made a lot of sense after the game yesterday, and you only get to hear the voices that the team chooses to bring out to chat with you after the game, but one voice that I thought made a lot of sense, and a guy that it means an awful lot to him every week, is David Montgomery. I think he is emerging as a younger leader on this team. And I'll tell you what, I like what I hear on just about a weekly basis from Jalen Johnson, the cornerback. So I thought he had a pretty good game yesterday, guys. You didn't see a whole lot of DeAndre Hopkins making plays. I believe he only had 2 catches. Yes, he had a 20-yard touchdown on that 4th and 2 play there in the first quarter, but it was a pretty nice throw by Kyler Murray. Some nifty footwork by Hopkins there in the corner of the end zone, and Jalen was right with him the whole way.
They only threw 15 times. I mean, they only targeted him twice because they only had to target him twice. Yeah. They didn't have to throw any more than that. So I'll go back and forth.
I'm just saying, based on the action that came his way, the guy played okay. And the defense.
Is it best for Justin Fields to return this season or not? I think it's a great conversation to have because Justin Fields will be out there with bereft of quality players that can help him offensively. Going to get nailed back there. He's still not great as a quarterback just as of yet. Should he be out there?
No, because he's not at 100%. He wasn't even dressed yesterday. You can't make him the backup because if he's the backup, he's better than Andy. He should be starting because he's one hit away from having to be in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're firing Matt, which I assume they're going to, like I would bet a lot of money he will not be the coach next season.
Right.
Then what are you gaining? Having him run that moribund offense that's not going to be part of the system next year? No thanks.
Now again, from his standpoint, for Fields, you could say Fields has need for more time to be out there, Cap, for him to have a few more reps, a few more things to see on film for him to feel good about going into the offseason. There's a feeling of that as well.
There's also a chance he could, God forbid, blow a leg out or a shoulder. No chance.
Every time he's out there, he has the opportunity to do that. You know that, right? It's football.
Agreed. But I'm trying to win football games that matter. The rest of the season, the 5 games, don't matter. It'll be fodder for us to talk about. But until they put this guy out of his misery, I'm talking about Matt, I'm not putting Justin out there.
So you agree with Jay Cutler, who was on Waddle and Sylvie this past Friday. You and Jay are actually on the same page.
Yes.
The meat hustler. You guys agree, I think, for the first time, because Jay says the same thing. He says, why put him out there?
Here's Jay Cutler on Waddle and Sylvie.
No Justin Fields this week. Andy Dalton.
I would shut down for the rest of the year at this point.
You would? Why?
Yeah, why not? Why not?
I still think, don't you think there are still some things that he can gain, positive things, by being out there taking some snaps? It's fine as long as they clear
I think it boils down to if you're keeping the coach or not. If you're keeping the coach, sure, put him out there and, let's learn the offense. Let's go through the things. If you're not keeping the coach, shut him down and save him and make sure he doesn't get hurt.
I didn't get all hot and bothered until I started thinking about how we lost a year. We lost a year of our life. We lost a year of cheering for the Bears because they felt like staying the course would be the right move when, in fact, all we did was waste time. And all we have done is go 365 days in the exact spot of where we were a year ago today. A year ago today, the Bears lost their 6th straight game against the Detroit Lions.
The only positive is, despite their ineptitude as an organization in a number of ways that we've already talked about, they may have lucked into their quarterback of the future.
Right.
And getting him as many snaps as possible, again, whether it was starting week 1 or him getting the start in Cleveland, if we can get him through the season where he's going to get 13 starts, he'll miss some of those because of injury. That, to me, is the most important aspect of the 2021 season. So they may have gotten that right, and that may be something that is further enhanced with a new group when they come to town in 2022. But that's really the only thing about the 2021 season that you're going to look back on and say, that's,
yeah, we just otherwise, again, it's amazing to where we sit today. Again, it was a Sunday a year ago today, and the Bears lost to the Lions, their 6th in a row. Yesterday, it's funny, too, because the Lions actually won again their first game almost a year to the day.
Get to that and good, bad, and dirty.
And the Bears lost their 6th out of their last 7 games. So it's similar. There's no false hope of them making the playoffs to fool your dumb owner and your dumb president into thinking staying the course is the right choice. But again, all we've done with our favorite football team, other than they stumbled upon Justin Fields. It's like Weeder always said. They were walking down the street and someone dropped a $100 bill and they merely got the wind to blow it in their direction and they bent down and they picked it up. And that's the only area that they succeeded in this offseason.
There's a lot of work to do. When people get as worked up about Matt Nagy as they do, and for good reason, you cannot neglect the talent procurement office as well.
No.
This is all tied together.
All of it.
So as you look to 2022, this is why I look at this team and I say, man, until you admit that this is a rebuild, you're just going to continue to be on this treadmill of mediocrity. So we'll see.
My buddy Barry Rosner, he put up that picture that he puts up every week of Ryan Pace sitting there in his little private box, never comes out except for one of those BBM interviews. And Rosner wrote yesterday after the game, the Teflon Khan, plotting ways to save himself again. And next to Teflon Khan, he's got his record, 46-62. 7 years. 7 years, 46-62, and the roster may be as bare today as it was when he first came up. So you could sell me and say, well, some of his draft picks have been better, Sylvie. But really, is the roster in a much better place today than it was even 7 years ago when he took over a rebuild? They've got, like you will want to point it out, long way to go. The thing they may have is the quarterback, hopefully.
Hopefully.
But, I don't have faith. I would never keep him. Never, never, never. I would never give him 7 years and then you just continue to throw away draft picks on kick returners and backup quarterbacks and third string tight ends. No way.
And were the Bears to do it the correct way, and if they're going to hire a president of football operations, that might be how it works. And it might be that person hires a general manager, and then those people together decide to hire a coach. And until then, Matt Nagy's just an easy punching bag to take the attention off everything else, and fans can chant whatever they want. And that may just be me uncharacteristically being over-optimistic.
Well, Dan, there's no question about it. That if you're going to make a coaching change and clean up your front office, then of course you've got to make the front office change first, because then you've got the person in charge to do the rebuilding. And maybe this is the kind of hints that people are looking for. The longer, if you were to fire both your general manager and your head coach right now, then okay, then you've got an interim head coach and you're looking for the guy to come in and redo things. But the longer that you don't, that you go with Matt after game, this is so hard because he really is a class act. We just got done talking to him. The man's out there, coaching and doing his job. But it's where we're at, and so the longer that he stays in that job, it could be the hint that they're going to do a complete house cleaning, and that there's no point in starting now until the end of the year, because the 2 weeks at the end of the year don't matter. If you do not have the person in charge of the future of the organization starting on Black Monday in place, then what's the advantage of the 2 weeks before? Who's going to be doing that interviewing? So it's all an open question. But exactly to your point, you could not be more correct. If you're going to make dramatic changes, then the guy at the top has to come first. And when we talk about a football czar or a president of football operations, that's all about titles. It doesn't matter if it's a president of football operations or it's a general manager, as long as that person has complete control of the football operation with absolutely no interference. So, let's not get hung up on the titles. I think it would be fine if they brought in a new general manager, and if that guy wanted to keep Ryan Pace as his director of player personnel, that's fine. The titles are irrelevant. The question is, who is the final word? Who is the ultimate say on what's happening on the football field with the Chicago Bears? And honestly, I don't think we've known that since Jim Finks left.
Wow.
And that's what we're all trying to figure out. You guys did work your hardest to try to ask those questions that we needed the last couple of times that Pace and ownership has talked. The interesting thing to me, Hub, is if there were time to do it, wouldn't you think it would be ahead of a draft where you don't have a first-round pick and you don't have to at least have that hanging over you when you're trying to gradually build a regime?
Well, I don't know, Layla. I mean, if you're going to put somebody new in charge, you want them to have all the assets they can possibly have. You can make the counter argument that if that's what you're going to do, then start unloading the veterans, get all the draft picks you can for these guys, if it's a complete rebuild.
Which is what a new GM usually does. Yeah, you're right.
Well, it depends on what situation they're coming into, though, because I don't know that this is a complete rebuild. I mean, you got to be excited about Justin Fields. You're in really great shape at running back, and you're seeing some promise on the offensive line. Defensively, again, we've talked about there are some young players that you could build around, certainly Roquan Smith, maybe Eddie Jackson, maybe Bilal Nichols. And then these 30-somethings, I mean, there's no reason to believe that Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn can't be dominant players for another year or two. So that's the other kind of question here is what are we talking about? You do want a complete reshuffling possibly of the people in charge, but I don't think you want to do a complete rebuild on this team yet. I don't know that you need to. So
but do you have any reasonable expectation about, or do you think you feel confident in knowing what comes next with this team or organization?
No, I don't, just because of what we heard them say last year and what we've been watching here for 20 plus years now. Last year, when you come out and say, we don't have a quarterback and we don't win games, but everything else is in place, that's baffling, right? So we were all confused after that press conference last year that the best thing they had going for them is that they had really nice powwows up there at Hallis Hall. So we don't really know what we're going to hear this year. You would expect that they are going to move on from Coach Nagy, that they would have to take advantage of this new rule where you can interview coaches. I think the rule is with 2 weeks left in the season, you can interview coaches, or you can end up behind everybody, and you might not get the guy that you want. So if they are going to move on from Coach Nagy, you'd expect them to do the right thing. But then after watching last year and watching decisions like we're going to hire Mark Trestman over Bruce Arians, when you're up there in Hallis Hall and somebody doesn't sit in that meeting room and say, what the hell are you talking about? What are you going to hire who over who? So they don't ever really get to the right answer. So how can you believe that they're going to do what you think they should be doing to improve their football team, to get some wins here in the playoffs, which they've had one in the last 10 or 11 years, 3 and 15, and like 4 or 5 and 25. So they have a long way to go to get things right up there at Hallis Hall. And obviously, we've talked about many a times, it's not just Coach Nagy that they have to change around up there to get this organization, that franchise moving in the right direction.
And we'll let you go, Olin, but that touchdown to Jimmy Graham, that means they've got 10 on the year now. 10 touchdowns thrown, 14 picks. I mean, it just pumps up the statistics a little bit. 9 is worse than 10.
We'd explode. If I was an offensive lineman in the huddle, I would have dropped about 9 F-bombs when that play came in. We're going to explode to whatever that was left and run a sprint left with Andy Dalton, who has, 2, I think, red zone interceptions, almost had 1 more against the Lions. And we're going to throw it to Jimmy Graham when I got David Montgomery standing up, right behind me, and I'm 1 inch from the end zone.
Only 9 expletives?
Hey, there's a play clock, David. I got to get to the line of scrimmage. We don't want to get a delay again.
That's beautiful.
And that's the end.
Oh, I love Olin Kreutz. He had earlier in the show, and again, Dan, this goes to your take on it's difficult to what to include and what not. You don't want to play the whole damn show. But earlier in the show, he was just so upset that they threw that touchdown pass to Jimmy Graham as opposed to rewarding David Montgomery for getting them down there to the red zone and inside the 5, instead of rewarding him to instead throw a pass that it's just for the stats, just for that. And that was Olin Kreutz. He was fantastic. A lot of stuff to unpack there, right, Dan?
Yeah, the thing that stood out to me, which I was thinking about asking you before we went to the tape, was the part I forget who was saying it, but it was talking about it's more conducive for the Bears to, as an organization, get their guy by firing Nagy now, or at least within the next couple of weeks, for that new rule where it starts where, the last 2 weeks of the regular season.
Right.
So are the Bears going to do that, or just because of that report last week, they're going to be like, well, we're going to show you that was wrong and stick with Matt until January 11th?
Yeah, I really do believe that the Bears are going to have a poor showing on Sunday Night Football, and that on Tuesday morning we'll be here at the bar room talking about the news that Matt Nagy has been fired. It's just a feeling. I had a feeling that he was going to get fired 2 weeks ago, and it didn't happen before the Lions game. But I don't know, man. Here's the conundrum, though, Dan. So you fire Matt Nagy Monday or Tuesday. What happens? What happens? Who hires the next coach? Who starts this interview process? How does that work?
I don't have the answers, but I'm just the guy at the bar room.
Well, I got an idea. I got an idea. And here I go. I'm going to go on one of my rants again because for some reason I think I'm a genius when it comes to running football franchises. But here, right now, not even right now. Weeks ago, when it was obvious that Matt Nagy wasn't going to get the job done, and that Ryan Pace was not going to get the job done, and that it was going to be impossible for me, the chairman of the board, George McCaskey, to go in front of the media and say, yeah, we made progress. Yeah, I know. We talked about we had to make progress in Anakeem, and we made progress because of Justin Fields, because of some of the young guys and stuff. So we're sticking with them because we really made progress, even though we only won 5-6 games. So McCaskey has had to have been thinking about that the last 2 weeks. Everyone is starting to say the team needs an executive vice president because that's what's going on in the National Football League. That is how organizations are done. You look at the team directories to the 31 other teams, and the executive level has layers because they want different ideas, because they want people who are highly qualified to give valued opinions to the general manager and to the coach. And you'll hear a little later Gary Fensick talking about, the structure, the traditional structure of the coach reporting to the GM, who then reports to the owner. That's breaking down throughout the NFL. There are some teams that have the coach and the general manager reporting to the executive vice president of operations, who reports to the chairman of the board. So things are changing. And so my hope is that George McCaskey has, for the last 3-4 weeks, has been making calls to qualified executive vice presidents. And therefore, on Monday morning, after the Bears are humiliated by the Green Bay Packers, Mr. McCaskey announces that Tate Armstrong, former defensive end of the Chicago Bears, who now runs one of the greatest player agency corporations, co-owner of one of the greatest player agencies, he is now the executive vice president of the Chicago Bears. And Matt Nagy has been fired. Here's the interim coach. Ryan Pace will report to Tate Armstrong. And
you mean Trace Armstrong?
Trace
right?
Armstrong. I'm sorry. I don't.
No. I'm not trying to contradict you.
No. I appreciate the correction. Definitely Trace Armstrong. And so then you play out the season, and then at the end of the season, after Trace has had now 3, 4, 5 weeks of collecting intel from Ryan Pace about how certain things work and blah 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 blah. Thank you, Ryan. You see that door over there? Get your ass on the other side of that fucking door and get out of town before I fucking have you shot for malpractice. I'm just kidding. That's a joke. So that's what I hope is happening now. That would give me so much faith in the Chicago Bears organization that they are actually have been plotting something from the very top level. And it's a good plan, getting people and things in place for the dramatic change that has to happen at the end of the season. And when Hub Arkush said late in that media clip that I don't see there having to be major changes. Is he fucking kidding? This defense is aging, and the young guys are all big question marks. And the offense hasn't proven anything. This is a major undertaking. And if you could give me 2 second-round draft picks or a second round and a third-round draft pick for Khalil Mack, Khalil, thank you for your service here in Chicago. Hope to see you at the Hall of Fame ceremony for you in 5-10 years. You got to start unloading salaries. You got to start unloading the veterans. You got to start this thing over. You don't bring in a Trace Armstrong or whoever the hell it's going to be and say, salvage the mess that Ryan Pace left you. Fuck you, I would say. You fucking salvage it. This is a fucking catastrophe. This is fucking Chernobyl. This is what that is. That's what he's left you. And yeah, you got Justin Fields, but there's no fucking guarantee Justin Fields is going to be the savior. He could end up being with like Mitch Trubisky. So this is a fucking mess, and the only way to clean it up is to throw out all the fucking garbage and start over.
I hate to say this because I don't want it to seem like, I look at one black quarterback and I see another black quarterback. I'd like to think it's not because of that.
Oh yeah.
But when I was watching the game Sunday, this is in direct reference to your comment about maybe Fields is the man. And I agree. We can't assume that he's going to be great. We want him to be great, and we think he's got the capabilities of being great. When I watched the game Sunday, I kept thinking every time the Cardinals use Murray on the run, it seems like it's the right play call.
Yep.
And it seems like he's not running for his life, and it's an easy 10-yard scamper or 20 yards or what have you. It's an easy play. It fooled the defense, an easy first down. And it's like every time we run our guy, he's taking shots and just getting hit over and over and over and cracking his ribs. And what I'm trying to say is I thought the other guy is playing the game that I wish our guy was playing. And I'd like to think, I hope I'm not just saying that because they're the same race. In my head, I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
But they look like their games, their styles, could be very similar.
You're absolutely right. Justin Fields loves to be a pocket passer first and foremost. That's what he wants to do in the NFL. He doesn't want to be Lamar Jackson, which is another running back in that backfield. He wants to be a pocket passer who will only use his legs on 3 or 4 design plays throughout the game and in emergency situations where he's got to run for his life because everything is broken down or people are covered. That's it. And that's what Kyler Murray is. And fucking Kyler Murray has surprised the shit out of me. I had no expectations that he was going to be that good. None whatsoever. But he has definitely proven me wrong. And he is, I think that's the model for Justin Fields and whoever's going to be coaching him going into the future is he can become another Kyler Murray. And let's remember, Kyler played in his rookie season, and I thought, hey, I told you this guy couldn't play. Told you he couldn't play. And then as the season wore on, all of a sudden, holy shit, that was a pretty fucking good game. He threw for 300, ran for almost 100, 3 touchdown passes. This guy's going to prove me wrong, and he has proven me wrong. Congratulations, Kyler Murray. That's a hell of a thing. A lot of stuff to unpack on that media reel. I want to start with, I thought, Mark Harmon said what you said earlier about Andy Dalton and that Nick Foles could do what Andy Dalton has been doing. The same exact
at the very
thing.
least, at what point do you give Dalton the hook? Even if it's not for the season, I'm not saying, well, Foles should start the rest of the way, although I wouldn't be objecting to that either. But when the game is going that poorly and you're still kind of in it, and this guy has a reputation of rescuing teams when they're down 14 points, and that's sort of his MO. Why wouldn't you go to your relief pitcher, man? Like the starter's struggling. I'm using a baseball analogy, but go to the guy who's fucking his reputation says he rescues teams in these scenarios. He's getting paid a litany of cash. So just, utilize your asset.
Totally agree with that. Jamal has a question for me. One question, Aldo. Is the roster better, worse, or the same since Pace took over 7 years ago?
Well, I heard that in the piece, and that's a really good question. Whomever asked that in the piece was I think it was Sylvie, wasn't it?
Yes, Sylvie.
Yeah, that was saying, is this better now when he took over for Phil Emery, or worse, or the same? That is such a good question. What do you think?
Well, go ahead. You answer first. I've already revealed my answer in the chat, so people already know what I'm going to say, but I want to hear yours first.
Well, we didn't have Khalil Mack after the 2014 season. In theory, we have our quarterback, our young quarterback. In theory, we've got a young running back that we can probably give a second contract to. We need some wide receivers. I know everyone's going to disagree with me. I think, like, we've got a third string tight end in 85 Komet. I'm sorry. I've given up on this guy right now. He's done. He's a bum. So I think we need help at tight end, even though we've got 12 tight ends. But I guess if you're going to have Khalil back next year, if there's a way to make that happen, his presence alone, if he's healthy and combine that with Fields and Montgomery, that's better than what Pace had when he got here. But he did have Brandon Marshall and Martellus and Alshon, but he kind of like got rid of them immediately because he didn't want to deal with them. So he had some offensive talent that he dealt.
Correct. I agree with what you're saying. And Jamal, for the record, for those listening in the audio podcast version, Jamal has gone on to say that he thinks the roster is better, and a number of other people agree with him. But I agree with James Foster. He says it's better, but not as good as 2018. So I say it's worse now because it was great in 2018, but now it's getting worse and worse and worse. So like I said earlier, when you look at this team and you look at what the near future looks like, you're not going to have Akeem Hicks because you just no way you're going to sign him. And do you think Bilal Nichols is anywhere the player that Akeem Hicks is? Maybe he will be someday, but no, I don't foresee that at all. And who else of the aging? How much can you get out of Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn? I mean, a season like Robert Quinn is having is such a fucking shame that it's being wasted, on this putrid team. He may
defensive player of the month,
defensive, well deserved, but he may not play anywhere near this level next season. Khalil Mack, who knows what he's going to look like a year older after this fucking ankle surgery that, the Bears aren't going to tell us the true results of it. I just feel like there's not a lot of hope in this roster now. So that's why I feel it's better. So the question is, if you go player by player by player, you would say the roster is better. There's no doubt about it. But when you take into account what this roster is going to look like next year because of the resources that we paid, it's like Mark Carman said, we fucking traded draft picks away for a kick returner. We traded draft picks away for a backup quarterback. We have in salary between Andy Dalton and Nick Foles, we could have fucking signed a premier cornerback, defensive player, offensive weapon, you name it. Instead, we're dedicating all these dollars to mediocre backup quarterbacks. You should fucking bring in, Rusty Leash. Remember Rusty Leash?
Yeah.
Bring him in.
I like this 6th round pick for Grant, though. I think Grant's a good player. Now, Grant is kind of the same MO of Cordero Patterson, who wanted to be here, and you could have re-signed, but you wouldn't have had to give it up a 6th round pick.
He signed for $1.89 million with the Atlanta Falcons. You think the Bears couldn't have offered that? That's ridiculous.
And he would have taken it. He wanted to be here.
Yep.
And the Falcons utilize him in so many ways. Like, they even had him playing safety one game, apparently. So, I mean, they should have brought him back. But considering they didn't, the 6th rounder for Grant, I think Grant has shown that he can return kicks. He can play wide receiver. Now, I think he's a free agent, but if you decide if there's a way to keep him and it's not a 6th round pick for 2 months, then I don't take umbrage with that trade, but everything else I do, I guess.
I agree. I agree with you. The issue about it is, okay, so you traded a 6th round draft pick for a guy you won't have next season unless you sign him, and he's 29 years old, 28 or 29. So, it's not like you could say, hey, yeah, we signed him to a nice 2 or 3 year contract like we gave Tariq Cohen, because he could be Tariq Cohen for this team. He could definitely do what Tariq does. And somebody,
or you mean Tariq used to do?
Correct.
I mean, I hate to say that, but will Tariq ever be back? I mean, they don't ever tell us what's wrong with him or why he's out for the year or 2 years in a row. Everything's conjecture. We can say the surgery went bad. He had a setback, but none of us know. They've never addressed the question.
Right. That ankle or ACL injury that he had was, I think, week 3 of last season.
Right.
So it's been more than a season. So this is bad. And so, yeah, they won't tell us if they're had to go into a second or third surgery, and if so, why. It's another reason why this organization is just poorly run, and kind of would be a nice segue to Gary Fensick, but I want to talk more about some of the other stuff that we heard. All right.
Can I say one more thing first, though?
Please do.
I thought it was ironic that you were advocating for Trace Armstrong, because now this is straight out of my ass. I could be wrong.
Okay.
But I think now it's analogous to, like, okay, we've got to trade, like you were talking about, maybe you need to trade Khalil or some of the big price veterans and start the rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fairly certain that Trace Armstrong himself was a product of that same approach. I think we got him with one of the picks that the Bears obtained from the Willie Gault trade.
Yes, you're right. That is correct, sir. Very, very good.
So that would be ironic to have a guy moving veterans for pieces, which is how he got here to begin with.
And he was the second of 2 first-round draft picks. Do you remember who the other one was?
God, who would have been first in 88, I guess?
I have a guess. I don't know for sure. I'm going to hit the Google machine to see if I am right. But yeah, do you have any?
Was it Brad Muster?
Yeah, that's who I was guessing. So it's got to be right. It's got to be right.
Again, Muster, if he could have stayed healthy, I think he could have been a dominant fullback in his era, but he just was always hurt.
Yep.
But I think it was Muster.
Yeah, I agree. Calling it up here. Let's see what the good old Google machine and Pro Football Reference says. By the way, the AP MVP of that season was Joe Montana, and the Offensive Rookie of the Year was Barry Sanders. All right, NFL Draft. Troy Aikman was the very first pick.
Well, that's 89.
Yeah.
I thought you were going back to 88.
Yeah, he was drafted in 89. Trace Armstrong was.
Right, but we got 2 picks for Willie, though.
Okay, so then he wasn't a part of that deal, right?
I thought I thought we used 1 pick in 88 and 1 pick in 89 for Willie.
Yeah.
And Armstrong was the second one. I think
you're correct. You're correct.
Yeah, unless Wolford was the second one. But I think it was Trace.
Donnell Wolford and Trace Armstrong were picked back to back, the 11th and 12th picks of the first round. But you're saying that what we got back in that trade was the Armstrong pick and the pick for Brad Muster the previous season, correct?
I could be wrong.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me go back to the previous season. Good. That season, by the way, Michael Irvin was drafted by the Dallas Cowboys.
And Coach of the Year, Mike Ditka in 88.
Yep. I don't see Brad Muster. Was he a second round pick?
I think he was our first, wasn't he?
So I thought.
Out of Stanford?
Was he Stanford? Man.
He always wore a guy that was a dick to me in real life. He wore Ric Flair, the wrestler Ric Flair's T-shirt underneath his shoulder pads.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did.
Muster was in the first round. I bypassed it with the 23rd pick of the first round. Brad Muster, running back. Yeah, I like Brad Muster. He was good. Mike Diaz says, I'm Brad Muster. Hear my voice. I know I was a crappy number 1 draft choice. Eddie Njobo, B96. Is that what those guys said? Or did Brad Muster say that on Eddie Njobo, B96? It was a very popular radio show here in Chicago, Dan. Those guys were number 1 in ratings for almost a decade.
That's way before my time. Back in those days, I was just watching the game on TV and was happy.
I might have a tape of those guys somewhere that I was going to do. I was working at Channel 2 at the time. I was going to do a feature on them, and so I recorded a bunch of their shows, but I never got around to it. All right. I love what Lawrence Holmes said about Andy Dalton was their plan.
I'll never forget. Yeah, never forget.
That was classic. Nice job, Mr. Holmes. Obi, Ed O'Bradovich, I love the guy's passion. But he's wrong when he says if it's third down and 9, throw for the sticks. You can't always do that. Why? Defenses are guarding the sticks. So the strategy is if it's 3rd and 9, you throw that 7-yard pass and you've got that yard or 2 cushion and you got to make a move and you got to pick up the first down. That's the way football is played in 2021, OB. That's the way it's played. I understand if it's like he said in the clip, it's 3rd and 13, throw it down the middle, air it out. But there's 7 defensive backs back there nowadays. That's how they play football now. Back in your day, there was 4 guys on the 4-3 defense, 4 guys rushing, and those 3 linebackers were close near the line of scrimmage, and rarely did you see dime packages. I don't know, even at all in the 50s and 60s when OB played. So I just had to lay that out there. I love OB. Please don't kick my ass, OB, because I know you can. I don't care how old you are. Don't kick my ass.
But I get his point. He says every situation, all the receivers are running short of the stick. And he was just like, for 4 years of that shit now, at some point, at least have one guy going past the sticks.
Bryce is asking me a question here, and so I want to ask you this. And I agree with you, Dan, what you just said. It's frustrating. You want them to go for the sticks, but the strategy is, the analytics say you got a better chance of getting the first down if you throw short of the sticks. Bryce is asking, what are your thoughts on Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer? Dan, do you from time to time hear a Bears game on the radio?
Sure, I've listened to. I hate to say this once again, but I like Jeff. Don't get me wrong, but his predecessor, whom of course Wayne, who went to Green Bay, is better. But I hate to say that. Like,
I agree.
We lost our guy to the Packers, which again makes me so angry. Why would he go to Green? I don't care if he was a Packers fan in the early '60s. Fuck, he had been with the Bears organization since '85.
Yep.
Calling our games, man.
I agree. Jeff Joniak is good, and he's gotten a lot better. I remember his first years. I was like, holy shit, we couldn't afford some guy who's done this for a while. And there was a feature on Jeff Joniak, like when he was his maybe 3rd year of broadcasting for the Bears games. And it was like a news feature on a Sunday night, and they did a 3-minute video on him preparing for the games at the stadium and so forth. And so the news story starts off with him in his office with one little like desk lamp, and he's talking into a microphone, and he's he's announcing a game. He's rehearsing announcing a game. And he in the story, they said that he would do this endlessly, just rehearse games, calling of games. And I have a feeling it's because he had never really done play-by-play before, or had done much of it, because he was really green at the beginning. But now he's excellent. But I agree with you, Wayne Mesmer, 10 times better, man. 10 times better. Excellent.
Yeah, and Tom makes me nervous when I listen because you can't see. Obviously you're driving in the car or whatever. And, you're going to hear the play-by-play, and then suddenly Tom jumps in with like, oh, with like these sound effects like John Madden a little bit. And I'm like, because you'll hear the Joniak is like, Fields out of the pocket. It looks like he's got the first, and then Thayer's like, oh, and you're like, oh my God, is somebody hurt? Is there a flag down? Thayer makes me nervous listening, but I love the fact that he was one of our guys, a local guy.
Yep.
It's world champion. So I'll always advocate him being there, and he cares. He was a fan first, got to play on his home team. So I love him, but listening to him, he makes me really nervous, always making those jittery noises and shit. Like, I'm like, oh God, what's wrong? What's wrong?
Yes, I hear you. You're absolutely right. And I'm thinking back, there was another Bears color guy who was, Butkus did it for years. Butkus was the color analyst on WGN radio for about 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
and
when they won the Super Bowl, he was on the mic.
Was he then? Okay, check it out.
I'm pretty sure it was him and Hub, right? And Wayne.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. I had forgotten about that. And Dick was that way. It was like he was down there, man. I loved it. All right, so should Fields play? Cap says no, and Jay Cutler
said no.
Says
obviously.
no. What do you say?
As I've said the last couple of weeks, if he's healthy, I would love for him to get the experience of playing Rodgers up in Green Bay. To me, that's a special opportunity that he may not get anymore, because now everyone's saying with Big Ben retiring, allegedly, that Rodgers is a favorite to end up in Pittsburgh.
Right.
So he could be gone, and I hope the fuck he is.
I'm being the same way.
Because that opens up. I mean, fuck, Detroit just beat Minnesota. So, I mean, I'm so glad that wasn't us. So it's like we're suddenly, even if it's by default, we're in playoff contention for winning the division if Rodgers is gone. So I hope that happens. But having said that, I would still love Fields to get a feel of the rivalry and that this is the bully that's been beating us so many times. Like, I mean, he's new to this.
Yeah.
And he's made some good comments, like we're going to take over the rivalry and stuff, but maybe you need to go sit through that 42-7 game on Sunday night. That's probably looking at us that we hope isn't, but maybe he needs to be a part of that to fire him up for next season.
Yeah. I agree 100% with you. And I don't understand anyone that would say that this quarterback shouldn't be playing because they are afraid he might get hurt. There's two things that Matt Nagy has said about whether he's going to play or not. One, if the doctor clears him, and two, if Justin Fields says, I can deal with whatever pain I might get. Because if he's saying, man, it's going to be too painful for me, then you don't want him out there.
Right.
Outside,
and if it's week 18 and he hasn't played up until that week, then what's the point?
Yeah. I
but right now, though.
Yeah, exactly. This Packer game, I would love to see him out there. The whole idea that you're destroying him because he's running Matt Nagy's offense for the next 4 or 5 weeks. I don't buy that. And I'm shocked that Jay Cutler would say that, a guy who had a new fucking offensive coordinator every year and throughout his career, not just with the Bears. I mean, how many offensive coordinators does this guy have? So I'm surprised he would say that. I'm surprised that Jay, and again, Jay got a great roast in the chat column while that played on the Media Bite segment. People were saying, was Jay smoking a cigarette when he said that? Who the fuck cares what Jay says? It was great stuff.
Did you see his mask that I sent to you?
His mask? No.
Yeah. Oh, you're not going to like it. Our Republican friends will.
I
his
did
tweet
see that.
Was,
yeah.
you asked, we delivered. It's a mask that says, this mask is as useless as Joe Biden. Apparently he's selling that.
I don't mind the political jab. That's fine. But come on. Now he's a fucking doctor. I mean, there's a great video of what's that guy called? Bill Nye, the science guy. He's sneezing into a mask, and he's got like a light behind so you can see the particles that don't come out when you're wearing the mask. And then he sneezes without the mask, and you see all the fucking particles. Now he says, all right, so if that doesn't convince you, then what I'm going to do is use a special camera, and you're going to see the spittle coming out of my mouth when I'm talking. And then I'll put the mask on, and you'll see that nothing comes out of my mouth when I'm talking. And it's just scientific proof. It's Bill Nye, the science guy, teaching America. And Jay Cutler hasn't seen that video or thinks that he's smarter than Bill Nye, the science guy. Fuck.
Far be it from me to criticize Jay, because again, I was a huge fan of it as a player, and his personal life has nothing to do with me or you or anybody else. But just for the record, even before all this started, he was an anti-vaxxer with his kids too.
Oh yeah, I think that was I don't know for sure, but his then wife Christine Cavallari is a big anti-vaxxer. So
So I'm not surprised he's against the vaccine or the mask. Is my point.
I'm not surprised at all either. Okay, so you're with me on Fields playing quarterback, and the Teflon Khan. That was a great line by Barry Rosner about general manager Ryan Pace. He is the Teflon Khan. That's a great nickname. He's probably going to end up being on the board of directors for the Bears because McCaskey loves. I think Virginia McCaskey probably likes it more than George.
She
does.
probably thinks he's cute and reminds him of one of the players from 1936 or something.
Virginia, I'm sure, is saying, he's such a smart boy. I wish my boys were as smart as Ryan.
Right. And there were a lot of good-looking white guys like him back in my day on the Bears, you know.
That's right.
I saw a stat.
I gotta find that.
I saw a stat that I wanted to throw out. I know I retweeted. I wanted to give someone the proper attribution for it as well. But just give me 5 more seconds. If I can't find it, then so be it.
Well,
it was talk.
Okay, go please. If you could fill it, if not, I got something perfect to fill it with.
What I was going to say, and then I'll let you segue because I'm not seeing it. Okay. It was a tweet about the Bears organization, each individual, their record that the Bears had against Green Bay during their tenure. Whether that was with Ryan Pace or with George McCaskey, I just can't find it now.
It's the Adam Hogue tweet, right?
Yeah, exactly. I can't find it.
But yeah, the record was abysmal. I mean, I don't understand. It's like the only 2 people in Chicago that won't get fired is the weatherman and anybody working for the Bears organization at the top level. These people are always wrong. Weather forecast and hiring GMs and coaches, they're always wrong, but they keep their jobs. It's pretty amazing. All right. Let's see. Going back to the media, I just had a couple more notes here. Dan Bernstein saying that, and that was a whole big spiel that he was saying that you need to hire the executive vice president, then GM, and then coach. It was like, where'd you get this fucking revelation from? That's the way it's always should have been done since sports started. You hire through the hierarchy. So, he was saying, well, the Bulls did it the right way, and finally they figured out a way. I'm hoping the Bears finally figure out a way. It's like, it's kind of a no-brainer. That's what you should do. You should hire the guy that's going to do the hiring of the experts. You're not going to hire the experts that you think when you don't know what those fuckers look like if they were standing in front of you. So, Hub. I can't read my own fucking note here. Hub says something George managing. Oh, this was big news that I don't even know if we talked about it last week about Hub reporting that.
Yeah, we mentioned it briefly because I talked about how he said he stood by the report.
Right. Okay.
That the Bears made him made him play Justin Fields.
Mm-hmm. So Hub is sticking to this, and Hub, despite the denials from the Bears themselves, and Hub is also in that media clip is stating that he's not sure who's really running things at Hallis Hall, and that's the way it's been since Jim Finks in 1983. In 1983 is when he left. I mean,
yeah,
that would be like, what the fuck? If that's accurate, if that's hyperbole, I could see, but if that's accurate, then this has to be one of the worst run organizations in the history of sports.
The history of the fucking, I was about to say communist, capitalist culture with any business, anywhere, anytime.
Mm-hmm.
If they've gone 40 years without someone actually calling the shots.
What the fuck is that? I don't understand how they could even entertain that. It's because they wanted to cut payroll. So we'll hire a bunch of cheapies that won't question authority. I don't know.
If they fire Pace and Nagy, though, the first interview we need to get, I don't care how we have to do it, blackmail somebody, break somebody's leg. We need to get that offensive coordinator that was here in 18 from Oregon that left that hasn't said a word. What was his name again?
Helfrich.
He was, Mark Helfrich.
Yes.
Or even one of the other guys that we have now. Whether that be DiFilippo or so, we have to. Somebody somewhere has to talk to these guys and get the real story on what was going on, because I don't want this suppressed.
Yeah.
All the stuff during Nagy's run.
I totally agree with you. Totally agree.
I mean, it's book worthy.
I was just going to say that. I was just going to say that. Well, let's call our guy Jeff Perlman up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just write us a book on what has happened during his tenure.
We'll do 25% of the research. You cut us in on 2% of the sales of the book, Dan and me and the Tooch. And we'll do the research for you. You've got a fucking award-winning book here, man.
Well, your Perlman answers to your tweets, man. So I'll pitch him the idea.
Yep, I will pitch it to him. All right. It is 9:37 here in Chicago. I sound like a radio DJ guy. Here's what I want to do. I want to play that Gary Fensick media interview because it's on the topic that we're on here. And then we'll react to that. And then we'll bring in Johnny the Tooch Santucci, who apparently he watched the game and wrote notes. This I gotta hear. So you guys will talk that while I have a quick sandwich or take a shit or something, and then I will join you in an hour. So first, let's listen to Gary Fensick. This is
wait, you said you're gonna be gone for an hour?
No, I won't be gone for an hour. I promise. But the longer I'm gone, the longer we could go. Right.
Right.
So we'll see. Let's see. This is Gary Fensick, number 45, Chicago Bears, 85 Super Bowl II winning team, great safety, voted somewhere in the top 50 of all-time greatest Bears when they had their 100-year anniversary. A lot of people have talked about him maybe being the executive vice president of the Chicago Bears, and that's why who are these guys? Matt Spiegel and Parkinson Spiegel. Great show. I apologize for forgetting the name, but that's why they had Gary on and they asked him some great questions. The full interview can be found on their podcast station. Let's listen to about 3 minutes of it. I've chopped up a lot of Gary's responses to their questions for the sake of time, but I think it tells the story here that Fensick is giving some friendly advice to the Chicago Bears McCaskey family.
I think in today's world, and you have all this social media and everything, whether you like it or not, the head coach is, the brand of your team. And so I think, Matt Nagy is a pretty straight up guy and probably talks a little bit too much at times, but you have, the owner of the team and George, and I think more importantly, the GM of the team who become invisible. And I think that's very challenging in today's world. And the Bears now, again, aren't going to be in the playoffs, and they're going to probably make changes. And so I think what you hope they do is really take a step back and say, maybe what we've been doing for the last 10 years plus under George McCaskey, maybe in order to be consistent as a winner, and get to and win the Super Bowl, which was the first thing that Mike Ditka ever told us when we met him the first time as the head coach of the Chicago Bears, not just to get to the Super Bowl, but to win it. And you know what? Of the guys that listened to that first speech, and then we finally, 4 or 5 years, got to the Super Bowl, there was a 2/3 of the team that heard the speech were not in that locker room down in New Orleans. You got to look and say, are we structured the right way? Are we doing, what are we doing? And maybe have someone from the outside looking in say maybe you have to do something different structurally and the way, the Bears have been organized in order to meet today's challenges in the NFL. But it needs to be someone that, I think not only can communicate that internally and create the right structure, but also communicate with the fans. You're selling a brand. And so I think you need to take a look. I mean, there are a number of teams that have different structures than the Chicago Bears. Just to put this in historical perspective, think about it. George Halas was the head coach, owner, general manager for decades, and he was the first person to bring in an outsider as general manager when I was playing, and that was with Jim Finks. And I believe Ted and I believe George that they delegate that football responsibility to the general manager. I'm just not sure, but you're still picking the general manager, so you can't say that your fingerprints aren't on that decision. But I think they need to look and just say, hey, there's a lot of things going on. The Bears are worth a lot more money. There's a lot more operational. What if they do the project in Arlington? That's going to take a lot of time and effort. It's just, okay, there are a lot of things going on, and the game of football in the NFL has changed significantly than when you just had a GM and he hired the head coach and all of that. So things have changed. And I think it's just a great opportunity really for the McCaskey family to take a look and say, hey, we have the resources. We want to win. I don't doubt that at all. How do we maybe restructure things to become a more consistent, predictable winner? Because we haven't won much in the last, we've had 2 winning records in the last 11 years. How do we get to be a different team than we have been for the last 10 years? This is a great opportunity for them right now to start prepping, saying, look, we're probably going to have to make some tough decisions here in the next month, and let's really take a hard look at ourselves and be transparent and open and honest about it, that if we look out for the next 5 or 10 years at the challenges that we as an organization are going to make, and I'm going to include the fact that they may build a new stadium, which is going to take a tremendous amount of effort for them, what do we have to do? What can we do? By looking at other organizations and seeing whether or not a different structure might work and lead to different records than we've had for the last decade. If you're the president of a company right now, I don't care if you're small or large, don't you have the key people report up to you? Because they're the key people. And I'm not sure that the old way in the NFL where the head coach reports up to a GM who then reports up to the owner or president of an organization, I'm not sure that works. And I know that there are a number of other NFL teams that have a different structure, but to me, it's just an opportunity. Hey, we know that the record isn't what anybody wants it to be. I don't think it's going to be getting any better, unfortunately. And so at the end of the season, decisions are going to be made. And whether it includes Ryan Pace, who I don't know, and it includes part or all or none of the coaching staff, I mean, those are going to be tough decisions that have to be made. And as we all know, then there's going to be a microscope on, okay, who are you going to bring in new? You have to have vision and really good leadership. And so management is key. I think people always talk about culture, but they don't really understand what that means. And I think, making sure that you have a definable culture that, is something that people feel. And that's what I think right now, for any NFL team. I mean, if I look at the New England Patriots, I've never met Bill Belichick, but I'll tell you what, when you go to the New England Patriots, there is a standard, there is an expectation, and you're either on that bus or you're off of it. And I think that I had 3 head coaches when I played for the Bears. Jack Pardee, who I really liked, and he left us after the first year that we went back to the playoffs since the Bears had won in 1963. And then we had Neil Armstrong, who was a really class individual, but just really wasn't a disciplinarian enough. And then we had Mike Ditka. And Mike Ditka, really said, hey, this is the way. You're either on this bus, these are the goals, they're pretty simple, but they're hard to get to achieve, or you're not. And we got rid of some people who were better players, but they weren't better team players for what, the goal was. So I think that culture is really, really important, but you have to have vision and you have to have discipline, and you all have to be going in the same direction. It's easy to say, it's really hard to execute and achieve. And I think there has to be transparency in that too, that you don't start believing, your own BS sometimes.
The guy's from Yale, right, Dan?
Oh, yeah, he's definitely an Ivy Leaguer, and everything he said was so right, just so
right.
poignantly accurate, especially buying into your own shit about culture. I thought that was tremendous, and I like to hear his breakdown of Jack Pardee, whom, of course, ran to Washington because he had played in Washington and left the Bears high and dry after going to the playoffs in '77. And again, Neil Armstrong, I was the fucking baby when he was coach, so I definitely didn't see the games live with him as coach. So it's cool to hear his analysis, saying he's a good guy and stuff, but a good gentleman, classy guy, but a shit coach. So I enjoyed listening to that piece tremendously. Before you say anything, I got this fun fact of what I just read. Not that it's fun, but it's pertinent to our show.
Okay.
Headline: Wife of former NFL quarterback Cade McNown arrested. Christina McNown, the wife of former UCLA and Chicago Bear quarterback Cade McNown, has been arrested for allegedly stealing luxury goods.
She's got
per
expensive taste.
per TMZ, and she's definitely cute. I'll send you a photo if you want.
Please do.
She's it's got Cade in it as well. If you're wondering, well, how did Cade age?
Yeah,
she's
a guy we would love to have on the show.
Oh, I agree. And the fact that she's a mother of 4 and still looks this good, motherfuck. She's a philanthropist. How do you say that word? Philanthropist.
Philanthropist.
Yeah, it's said to have picked up on her belongings going missing. So she was stealing from one of those philanthropists, allegedly, which is not an easy word to say.
No, it's not. And it's something that I don't want to do anymore. People are calling me for money all the time during this time of the year. Hey, can you give me $50 to Salvation Army for this thing and that thing? It's like, come on, man.
The other fun story that I could mention, and we'll go back to Gary. Apparently, Carolina wanted to fire their offensive coordinator yesterday, and he wouldn't answer the phone or their texts. So they couldn't fire him until Monday. They literally were going to fire him on Sunday, but couldn't because he was just inaccessible.
Wow, look at her. Showing her to the audience here. He, of course, looks like somebody out of a J. Crew catalog. She looks like, a very attractive.
She's got some legs.
Nice. I'd love to have her.
Cade is rich,
Yes.
Is it stocks or something? He's highly successful in his post NFL career. Why is she stealing?
Yeah, that is weird. Maybe during the divorce.
Gotta be drugs.
Could be. These are allegations, by the way. We're just
allegations, of course.
We want to get sued by the McNown family, but you said they were already divorced, so maybe she didn't get anything.
Oh, I don't know where did I say that? I was reading the article verbatim. I don't know if they were. It says a wife of former NFL quarterback, Cade McNown. I think that means present. I was saying former. It said former UCLA and former Chicago Bear Cade McNown.
Yeah, I had a bad wire hookup here, so yeah, I misheard you. So yeah, that is weird. I'm sure Cade McNown hasn't thrown away those millions that he has, but yeah, why is she stealing? But that's an allegation.
She's been charged with 4 counts of felony grand theft.
Whoa!
Will be arraigned in early 2022.
Holy moly! She's gonna have a police record like mine. All right. What are we doing here? Oh, I want to play one thing before Mr. Santucci comes in. This is actually a good trivia question for you, Senor Aguirre. Where the fuck is this video? Oh, is that it? Oh, that's not it. Let me see. Oh, that's Tucci's video. It's not like Howard Stern here, where he's looking at his board and he can't find what Gary, what bit is it in? Gary.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't lay it down. Anyway, I don't.
You know who I don't like is that Ronnie.
The limo driver, I heard he's retiring.
Ronnie's always arguing with that guy Apples. I get so bored of that bit.
Yeah. And Ronnie, he's been on the show now maybe 20 years. He's always played the surly limo driver who loves to party with whores. Let's party with the whores. That's his famous line on the show. Anyway, we're talking about the Howard Stern show for those people who don't know.
Real quick, whatever happened to Jackie?
Jackie had a falling out with Howard. Jackie wanted money, so he held out while they were negotiating the contract. And so at one point, It sort of sounds like the Phil Shane Aldo negotiation from.
Oh boy, don't go there.
Really, but at one point, one party said, "No, I don't want to fucking deal with this anymore." And in that case, it was Howard Stern, and the radio station that he was under contract for. They both said, if you guys can't agree, Howard said, "I'm ready to move on," and the radio station said they called his bluff. And they let him go. And about a year later, maybe a year and a half later, Artie came on board.
I remember, and he and Artie and them had a big falling out over the dope, right?
Yeah, exactly. Artie Lang had a serious drug problem: heroin, cocaine, drinking, you name it, and it became a part of the bit. I mean, he would sleep during long sections of the show, like for 45 minutes. Just Artie Lang. Can they put the microphone up to his nose to hear him snore and stuff? And he would always assure Howard that he was fine. Once in a while he would go on a bender, but he was fine. And when Howard found out that the truth, that destroyed their relationship. They don't talk much at all.
Yeah.
All right. Quickly, the trivia question that I saw that Jonathan Taylor, the running back for the Indianapolis Colts, has scored 16 touchdowns this season. 16 touchdowns. Now, the Bears have 20 total, but that's another story. But so I was curious to see, when was the last time the Bears as a whole had 16 or more touchdowns? And so I did a quick search on the internet, and I think I'm pretty correct here. I don't want to give the answer away because I want you to guess, because you might get it right. What year and who was coaching the Bears and the year that they had 18 rushing touchdowns, 2 more than Taylor has right now? Taylor of the Colts.
Now, we're just talking about rushing touchdowns, not touchdowns as a unit, including passing, right?
We're talking rushing touchdowns. Correcto.
So the last time that the Bears had at least 18 rushing touchdowns in a single season?
Correcto.
Oh, that's got to be Lovey. I would say Lovey Smith with Kyle Lorton at quarterback in 2005 and Thomas Jones and carrying the way against 8 men in the box. 05.
Let me bring in Tooch here and see if he's got a guess. I can tell that he has not been on the internet looking for the answer. Johnny Zantucci, how are you, brother? Well, too bad I can't hear him. His mic is muted.
Glad to be here with all the barflies.
How are you, brother?
Doing well. Very glad to be with all the barflies. The chat room has been fantastic. All the great comments.
Mm-hmm.
Man, they're like they're reading from my notes.
I know. We probably covered everything that you had on your notes. But did you hear the question that I posed to Dan? He's got it wrong. The answer is wrong. The question is, when was the last time the Bears as a whole team had more rushing touchdowns than Jonathan Taylor has right now for the Colts, who he has 16, and the Bears in this year had 18.
One player or
the entire team. Entire team.
It's got to be. Maybe I'm thinking probably 85.
You are. I want to say you are closer than Dan. It's 1991. Mike Ditka's. I think it was 10-6 season. They got 18 rushing touchdowns. That's a pretty phenomenal thing.
That surprises me so much in 91 because Harbaugh was throwing the ball more than they had ever thrown it. And Muster and Anderson both were hurt throughout the entire year. I mean, you had Mark Green and Darren Lewis playing some. So, God damn it, that would have never got 91.
Yeah, and I'm shocked just that during Lovey's seasons that they didn't have anyone near that amount. So,
what did they have in 05? Like, I'm shocked in 05 because Kyle Lorton was throwing screen passes and hoping not to have to throw it any farther than 4 yards. So,
Let me look it up, and in the meantime, why don't you and Johnny Santucci exchange sex stories?
I haven't waiting a few weeks, so I don't know what you got for us there, too.
Nothing for Dan?
Oh, no,
man. I watched the entire game, Aldo.
Mm-hmm.
And I filled my notebook with thoughts during and after the game.
Notebook.
Yep. Trying to put a bow on the season, an ugly bow.
So take us to your diary, your journal of the Bears loss.
Yeah, the notes app on my iPhone is about to burn out.
Oh, great!
But yeah,
well, get to it then.
All right, I call this the reality of the situation. Aldo, are you ready?
Yes.
All right, here we go.
Tooch is doing bits.
Yep, this is the reality of a situation with your pal Tooch. State of the Bears. Here we go. Well, here we are. All of us are waiting for the inevitable. Although we're somewhere here, right? We just lost in embarrassing fashion. All right, we're calling for Matt Nagy to get fired.
Right.
I don't think we're going to beat up on a bad team next week, though, because we got the Packers on Sunday night.
Yes.
You know,
I think that whole graphic thing, it needs reworking now.
Hey, can I say one thing before he goes into the list?
Sure.
You know who Tooch sounds like right now with the start of the bit and the way his delivery was, which I liked, by the way. I'm not being critical. It reminded me of old SNL when Dennis Miller would do Weekend Update and he would turn to A. Whitney Brown and do a political. Remember A. Whitney Brown?
Yeah.
Yes.
A very thin A. Whitney Brown. Thin man. But yeah.
By the way, Dan, 2005, the Bears had 11 rushing touchdowns as a team.
God, that's surprising.
That is shocking.
Yeah, it is surprising. With Cedric and Thomas, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Thomas had 9. Cedric had 0 that season. Adrian Peterson had 2. Adrian Peterson, of course, not that.
Right.
Peterson.
Right,
Anyway,
the other Adrian Peterson. The discount bin Adrian Peterson. Right.
Big time discount.
So the cycle repeats. You know, I'm struggling for reasons to find reasons to watch a Matt Nagy coached football team. You know, that's where I am now. You know, I'm like, what could I do? Do I want to watch the Bears against the Packers? Because I got a feeling, man, it could be, 44-7 type game, and I don't think the Bears will be on the 44 side. But it's a sloppy, undisciplined team. There's no accountability for the players. If someone misses a tackle, I forget which cornerback or defensive back missed a tackle, but it was ugly. And then there's no benching of a guy. Right. Belichick will bench somebody. Mm-hmm. That's why they use like 3 or 4 different running backs. Running back miss a blitz. He's on the bench the next play for Belichick. Nothing like that.
That's a very good point.
The reality of the situation is that there weren't even enough fans in the stands to muster up a good Fire Nagy chant. Right? There weren't enough people out there. It was a miserable day and a miserable game. People couldn't even get fired up to chant Fire Nagy.
Yeah,
that's where we are.
Yeah,
we've given up on Fire Nagy.
There were
we don't need to say anything anymore.
Right. There were reports that some people were doing it, but I never heard them on the broadcast. I did not.
Yeah, it was a terrible day. I mean, not even Greg Braggs could have gotten a chant up in the stands of any quality. But wouldn't a nice Arlington Heights dome been good on a day like that? Because even if the Bears were stinking up the joint, people could drink good beer and eat good food. At least you got that. Yeah. Right, go over to all those houses after the game. You get some good liquor and you forget about the Bears stinking up the joint and forget about the cycle. But the reality of the situation is that the Bears need the new stadium to increase the value of this franchise. That's the reality. They're going to be distracted with this chore that they have, and that's getting the Bears out of Soldier Field. 61,000 fans. I don't know. There were probably 40,000 there on Sunday. Mm-hmm. Get some increased revenue. Think about it. If they want to sell this team, like some of these, some of the board members or McCaskey kids or grandkids or whatever want to sell it, think of how much more valuable it'll be with our Arlington Park Stadium. We're talking in the billions to sell the Bears. If they want to get out of it, what better way to get out by selling it on top? Going out on top, selling the team that way. Unfortunately, we may not be that lucky. I mean, they know it'll increase the value, but for some reason it's always been rumored that they just won't sell. Well, maybe after Virginia, God bless her, passes away, the kids will have control and they'll be able to sell the team. So they have to get this stadium built.
I totally agree. From a business standpoint, it's a must for the organization. They are seeing other teams make more money in smaller markets, and they know that one of the reasons has to do with the stadium. And look at what's happened at Soldier Field the last 2 home games where the goddamn fucking communication system breaks down. I almost think that this is being managed by somebody in the Chicago Park District that hates Matt Nagy. Let's fuck with the fucking walkie-talkies.
Yeah, and it's not the first time it happened. They said it happened the week before, or the game before.
2 straight weeks, absolutely. And so they asked Matt Nagy at the press conference, so what was the deal and so forth? And Matt was like, yeah, I'm going to find out. I'm going to look into that. I don't know who runs it, Park District or the NFL, but I'm going to look at it. I think it's the Park District, and it's a disgruntled fan who looks just like the Tooch, and he's like fucking with the buttons and shit.
I need to look and find out what play Nagy called before the headset went out. That's what I need to look at.
That is a good question.
Well, here's
hold on before you go on, Dan. Somebody in the chat room says that Tooch looks like Jeff Garland from Curb Your Enthusiasm. What do you think?
No, he's way like
I do have a big fat head though.
Well, I got an image of Jeff Garland and Tooch side by side. I can see the similarity. If I were casting the Jeff Garland story,
I gotta lose my beard. That'll never
Or
happen.
here's something like in season 9, I think it was, on the opener, everyone kept confusing Jeff with Harvey Weinstein.
So that's just people getting worse for me.
Like Harvey Weinstein.
that is great.
Man.
I
got something that Dan can relate to, though. The reality of the situation is that I think Bears ownership is content with their profit line, content with selling history and tradition. The only problem is that the top levels, ownership and management, aren't really football people. They don't know how to fix football problems.
Right.
They're lacking a person, like Gary Fensick said, lacking a person who knows the game and could diagnose what the problems are, whether it's personnel problems, coaching problems, or just talent on the field. And now we had Sylvie assessing the Bears roster. The reality of the situation is that regarding the Bears roster, there's simply not enough top line talent on the roster. Which Bears players could honestly improve another team? I mean, Khalil Mack, maybe he's sliding downhill and he's injured. Robert Quinn, David Montgomery. That's like 3 guys. Maybe Allen Robinson.
Yeah, there's a few
There's
guys,
a few.
but but your point is well taken. It's not a team. We don't have a team, and that's the scary thing about this.
And you had people in the chat room saying, "Is the Bears roster better when Pace took over?" I don't know. It's a great question. To me, it's about the same because we've been in the same situation for about 7 years.
Yeah.
I remember when Ryan Pace started here. He said we might have to blow up the whole roster. And they also said we need to draft a quarterback every year. He didn't even do that.
Yeah,
they drafted 2 and 7.
They bypassed Dak Prescott. In the 4th round. Unbelievable. Twice, by the way.
And let's not let Ryan Pace draft another tight end in the 2nd round, for God's sakes. We drafted Adam Shaheen. We could have had George Kittle in the 5th.
Yeah.
Come on.
Or the safety the Cardinals had against us.
Yeah, Buda Baker.
Buda Baker.
Yeah. I love Buda Baker. Come on, but I have him than Eddie Jackson. We waited around, took a 4th round safety coming off a broken leg. The reality of the situation is that the salary cap is a mess. I saw someone in the chat room say Khalil Mack will be owed $30 million next year. That's not going to help signing him. I mean, Pace will have to improve the roster by getting other people's casts off teams. I hope that they blossom. Maybe like someone's cut second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth round guys and hope that they blossom. You've got two quarterbacks that are backup quarterbacks that are probably getting close to 20 million, of next year or this year or next year. If I'm George McCaskey, I am reminding Ryan Pace every day. Hey, remember we gave 18 million guaranteed to Mike Glennon? Don't ever forget that. It's just if I'm an owner, I'm reminding my guy who's making football decisions of their boneheaded decisions. If I'm not doing that, I'm getting rid of his ass. So, a lot of questions remain, like whether or not Ryan Pace will be jettisoned along with Nagy. I'm sure he should be gone by all rights. Ryan Pace should be gone. This is what I said this a long time ago. I wanted Pace and Nagy gone 2 years ago because I'm sick of the Bears hiring people who are doing the job for the first time. We should be doing a lot of times people go and they change jobs and they a change of scenery does them good. You get them going on their second thing. They've made all the mistakes already. They're ready to come in new. Belichick went from Cleveland to New England, and became a great coach. I think with the if you were to look at the Patriots, how quickly they turned around their club to compete. They're on top of the AFC East after one down year.
Mm-hmm.
They diagnosed the problems. They signed the players on defense to return a top defense again, and they drafted a quarterback who's basically like Tom Brady light and can run that system. He doesn't have the strongest arm. He just makes the right decisions, puts the ball in place. We've got a great athlete. I'm happy with Justin Fields. I would have been happy with Mac Jones too at Bears. But the thing is that we don't have a coach or coaches that can develop these players. And that's why I wanted them gone 2 years ago. We could have been 2 years into our rebuilding process. So that's the reality of the situation, Aldo. If fans foresaw this situation, that we foresaw the mess of the season 2 years ago. We talked about it for a long time on this show. Why couldn't the Bears foresee this? They're running a football franchise in the NFL. Where's the blind spot? Right?
Yep.
Danny, where's the blind spot? Right?
The blind spot is me going to the restroom. I was trying to be cool about it. I've got to take a leak.
Yeah, you go do that.
Right.
Don't want any of Dan's urine all over the mixing board.
But that's where we are, Aldo. Those are all my notes that came out. And the last note is that reality of the situation is Sunday Night Football, Bears at Packers. Packers are a 12.5-point favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised it's not 14.5.
Yeah, right.
But why didn't a lot of people may ask, why didn't the NFL flex out of this game? And the
market, the market is
that's
huge.
all. Historically, Bears-Packers games have gotten great ratings.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only reason. It's not because people want to see the Bears get pummeled or they're expecting a good game. Because it's not going to be. It's going to be a one-sided game.
Yeah,
we're not going to be close in this game.
Of course,
I don't mind laying 12.5 points with the Packers because I don't think the Bears are going to come within 2 touchdowns.
Right. Got a question here from Bear Truth 9. He says, "Tooch, who do we get? And have you, Tooch, compared Pace to a lot of other GMs? My point is that I'm not sure there are many GMs available better than what we have. Tooch, that's yours."
I don't agree with that. I think there's lots of people who'd be better.
Mm-hmm.
I think you get someone who knows football better than Ryan Pace. What we need is, again, like I said, someone to hire and fire the football people. That someone who hires and fires the coach and GM has to know football. Like I said, I typed in the chat room Gary Fensick for president of football operations. You get someone like Gary Fensick, even someone in the chat room said Peyton Manning. Mm-hmm. Fine, they're both good enough to diagnose football problems. Like PJ says, we need a school coach who's going to coach fundamentals, because a lot of these kids coming out of college, they're not fundamentally sound.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way it is these days. Kids are brought up fast through systems from Pop Warner football to junior high to high school to college and into the pros. A lot of them lack fundamentals, and that's a lot of the good coaches. And Bill Belichick, I hate to keep going back to the evil empire. People call him the evil empire because they're so damn successful.
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, why can't the Bears ever engineer a 1 year turnaround? Because we don't have the people in place. That's why.
Well, and they did have sort of a 1 year turnaround with the 2018 season.
Right.
But then it was a 1 year turnaround again. You're back to being a bad team.
So you got
2 turnarounds in 2 years.
Right. I think that Ryan Pace thought that the playoff window was open a bit longer than it was. He misjudged the playoff window.
I mean, they didn't spend all those assets on Khalil Mack just for one playoff run. Of course, they thought that they had a team that was going to sustain success, and it's just backfired on him because he doesn't know how to build a team. It's like Gary Fensick was saying. First of all, you start with vision, and then you work on the execution of that. Dan knows this. He's done this at his home when he's building shelves, being Mr. Handyman, right, Dan?
I'm the antithesis of the handyman. I wish that I could build shelves and shit, but
Tooch, are you a handyman around the house?
I'm all right. I could fix stuff. Built some cabinets with my friend Tom, who has his own cabinet business, and he taught me how to make bathroom cabinets and stuff like that. But I fix stuff around here, but I'm not by any means a carpenter. But
I'm a handy guy. I'm a handy guy, but I would prefer my wife do it. You know what I mean? It's like that humor.
See, Ryan Pace, thought he could build a championship team around Mitch Trubisky. Mm-hmm. That's the problem.
Exactly. I mean, I've went into my rant at the beginning of the show of all the mistakes that Ryan Pace has, and I've got a whole hell of a lot more of stuff. I've actually been keeping a notepad with every piece of evidence that I have that Ryan Pace should go, and at the opportune time, we'll present them right here on the Dan and Aldo show.
I'll be waiting for that.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast.
That. Yep.
Can you guys take over for about 15, 20 minutes? I'm going to shower and shave or whatever. 2 of those 3 work the best for my situation right now. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I've got PJ's comment here, man. I had money on this game last night. I had the Patriots and the under. Both of those cashed. And he says, New England beat a good football team at their home field and went and beat the Bills. They only threw the ball 3 times because of the weather. I mean, it was like 40-mile-an-hour gusts. Belichick has a commitment to the run. The Bears need that mindset. But with Fields, we could also throw, too. That's what we need. Matt Nagy does not run the ball. He does not like to run the ball. He loves to show off that he was a quarterback and he could throw the ball. But he can't run an offense. It just hasn't worked. We've seen bottom of the league offense for 4 years, Danny. Now, my question to you is, does Ryan Pace deserve to keep his job after drafting Mitch Trubisky, building a championship team around Mitch Trubisky, and then hiring Matt Nagy to run his offense?
Yeah, I don't want to just kick Trubisky.
Right.
But I know that in hindsight, that seems like an awful move. But when they clinched the division championship against Green Bay in 2018, it didn't feel like, well, this guy's a bust. It felt like, well, he's only going to improve. So I think Nagy has a lot to do with Mitch's underdevelopment. But to answer your question, the fact that he's already gone through all these quarterbacks, which are well documented, from Mike Glennon through Andy Dalton, and then Matt Nagy and John Fox, and I mean, it's you had your time. It's not like the Bears. Oh man, they just pulled the rug from under him and didn't really give him an opportunity. And what if? I mean, he's gotten a fair shake that even if he were fired tomorrow, he knows that he failed. Like there's no way. I'm not trying to make this personal, but he knows at the end of the day, and so does Matt Nagy, that both of them got a fair shake and both of them failed. Period.
Yeah. He misjudged the talent on the team. He misjudged the coach that he hired. He hasn't drafted particularly well. I mean, people say, oh, we've got a couple nice players in the 5th, 6th round. But for the most part, our first round pick, he got us Justin Fields. Fair enough. He got us a piece for the future, but he needs to either go or find someone who can develop Fields. I just don't think he's qualified to find that person to develop Justin Fields.
Would you be, here goes your thing. And I'm sure every show in the world has asked the same question. So I'm not doing anything thought provoking, but it is interesting. Maybe the chat room could elaborate on their thoughts as well. If you had the call, you could make one or the other, but one of them has to stay. Who would you rather go, Nagy or Pace? Now, personally, me, I'd rather Nagy go.
Yeah, I'm with you there on that one. Nagy is the worst coach. Pace could sit there and find some guys and maybe, hire some better scouts or whatever it is and just, draft whatever. Maybe he gets the hang of it a little bit better, but the coach has to go. He can't coordinate an offense. He can't make a game plan. He gets out coached every game. He can't manage the clock. He's too involved with calling plays to manage a game, whether it's challenges, timeouts, strategy, game plan. He just doesn't have it. He doesn't have what it takes. I knew 2 years ago he would never win a Super Bowl with the Bears. He just isn't a coach that has it.
That's proved to ultimately be true, and he's got to go out. If they're going to get blown out the way most, I don't know what the line is for Sunday. You'd have to think it's going to be at least 9, if not 11 or 12.
Yep.
If they lose by 17 or more, I would fire him on Monday for real. Come on, man. It's what else can you do? You've only beaten Green Bay once.
Yep. Yeah, and let's be honest. I don't think Justin Fields will play. Right? Is he ready to go? Maybe. I still go back to what Lawrence Holmes said about. Imagine if they didn't get Justin Fields. If Fields was gone by the time the Bears picked, Mac Jones was gone too, or someone traded ahead of the Bears to get Mac Jones, and we had nothing. Andy Dalton would have been the starter for the whole year. We'd be competing with the Lions for the first overall draft pick,
Yeah, and like I've said, I don't know if you heard because it was early in the show, and I'm sure some people probably felt similarly. For the life of me, can't justify in any way, why he didn't go to Foles when Dalton was playing so fucking terribly.
Yeah, and when I was watching the game, they even put the camera on Foles, once or twice. It's like there he is, just sitting there. He wasn't even really into the game that much. He was just, hanging out on the bench. Would have been great let's just see what he's do. 4 interceptions. 2 of them probably weren't his fault. One of them was definitely Cole Kmet's fault. Speaking of failed Pace draft picks,
can we please call him a bust now?
I never liked the pick. To me, watching his tape, he was stiff. Not a lot of you look at Jesse James. That guy could cut and make moves. He would have been fine just picking up Jesse James as a free agent and not drafting Cole Kmet. You could have waited later on and gotten someone more athletic than Kmet, in a later round.
Benched. He's not going to play Jimmy Graham when you have to go the full 80 yards. Then you play Horsted. Then give Horsted an opportunity.
Yeah, Jesse James to me is your best tight end on the roster. He not only can he, a big target. Has good hands, runs good routes, but he can block too, man. He put he picked up 2 guys on one block. I saw. I don't know if someone tweeted out the play where he blocked one guy, then he waited for the defender to cross and took out the second guy, so that Montgomery could get sprung on a long run.
If you ever saw one play, maybe I'm just biased, and have you ever seen one, let's say the quarterback, whomever it is in trouble. Oh shit, here comes the blitz. So you got to get rid of it. The hot man, it's Kmet. Have you ever seen Kmet catch a ball and get a first down with it? Unless it was he's wide open and he caught it, it's a first down. But he catches a screen pass. He's got to get 4 yards. I've never seen him break a tackle. He catches the ball, moves a yard, he's done. If it was 3rd and 4 and they threw a screen to Kmet, there is no way he gets the first down. No fucking way. He falls down or gets tackled by one person immediately.
Yeah, someone just like slapped his legs one time and he tripped over his own legs. He goes down immediately.
For some reason, people like to protect him. I think it's because he went to Notre Dame that they like Ed O'Branovich, whom of course I have this enormous respect for, still says he's a solid draft pick and a building block. I just don't see it. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, I agree. PJ says Kmet is an inline tight end. He will never be a Travis Kelce type tight end. I agree with that. He's too stiff. I think Ryan Pace was trying to get a player, like Travis Kelce. Who doesn't want the next Travis Kelce, right? I mean, you have to look a little bit longer, and I don't think Ryan Pace is the guy that should be looking for that type of player.
We got to get this guy some cleats. Why is he always falling?
Yeah, and he neglected the offensive line for so long. The offensive line is a mess this year. Tevin Jenkins, his highest draft pick, came with a back injury. How many times have we drafted an offensive lineman? Have the Bears drafted an offensive lineman that turns out has a back injury? Man, there was Stan Thomas, Chris Williams, Stan Thomas, Gabe Karimi. All these guys came with prepackaged injuries.
Stan Thomas is one of the worst busts in the history of the franchise.
Yeah. PJ's with you on the Horsted. I also have seen some good things at Horsted. He's more of a receiver than a blocker. He's not as big as Jesse James is like 6'8", but he's also got some athleticism. That's why I would try and trade Kmet. I mean, I don't think they will, but I mean, they gave up on Shaheen, ended up trading him. I don't know. I don't think you'd get much for Kmet right now. Maybe a 6th round draft pick or 7th round pick, which is probably where he should have been drafted anyways, in the first place. Let someone else make it.
Again, it's not personal, and I hope I'm wrong, but every time I see this guy, I think this guy sucks. He's really shitty.
Tony Brown asked, do you guys think maybe it's the coaches to blame for Kmet? Yeah, probably a little bit. I just don't think the dude's very athletic, and his hands aren't that good either. He's not that good of a blocker. Here's what I think happened with Kmet. It's a combination of coaching, and then he got into the NFL, and everybody in the NFL is as big and as strong or stronger than he is, and better than he is. That's what happened. Some guys get to college. NFL is a step above where there's no more scrubs that you could dominate anymore. Every player's pretty damn good in the NFL. I think that's what happened with Kmet. He's just not your upper echelon talent of the NFL. He's kind of more of just a guy. Gabe Karimi, Mr. Englewood 77 says, wow, what happened to Gabe Karimi? Wasn't he on Russell Wilson's team? I don't remember where Karimi went after the Bears. Might have been Seattle.
He played after the Bears.
Yeah, he did go somewhere. I'll name another tackle that we drafted that came with an injury and got injured. Mark Colombo. Remember him?
Yeah, but he got hurt because of that field in Champaign. It's not like he had a freak injury. It's not like, he came in and his back. Like he got hurt.
He had something with an injury that he was able to overcome, but you're right about the injury that his knee was destroyed. He made a comeback with the Cowboys.
Years to come back to play with Dallas.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I remember him having back problems though as well. I mean, Kyle Long too had the back issues too.
Kyle's career, for all intents and purposes, ended in Tampa Bay.
Yep, with the ankle, right?
Yeah, and they had to cart him, and he was never the same again, unfortunately.
Yep. Yeah, he never should have been playing guard. He should have been out on the playing tackle where he wouldn't have been in there. With people could you put your best lineman, at tackle.
But he didn't do that well at tackle in 15.
He needed more time, I think at tackle. I would have played him at left tackle. They played him at right tackle, which
waited till like the start of the season, not even the preseason. That year, they're like, okay, we're going to move Kyle to right tackle the week of we're preparing for the Packers for week 1, opening day in 2015. They didn't even give him a preseason to get ready. They just said, okay, you're the right tackle. That is so Chicago Bears.
Okay, here we go. Karimi was on Russell Wilson's team in college. That's correct. Karimi was Wisconsin. Russell Wilson was Wisconsin. Here's what we say about Bear True says about Cole Kmet. He's still young. He just turned 22 this year. I could still think he could be a solid tight end. I don't know. I'm not as optimistic, but I just think he's stiff athletically. He's just a guy. Foster asks, why isn't Jimmy Graham on the field for third downs of 5 or less, like goal line? Well, he wasn't. He did catch the touchdown, the goal line. But,
I think you mean like let's say if you're at your own 25 and it's 3rd and 3, why not have Jimmy out then? I agree with you. Why not? I mean, the guy's getting paid a ton of money this year, and he still seems to be performing well when you throw him the ball. So fucking throw him the ball.
I would play Graham over Kmet. I just think he's better. Right now Kmet just isn't good.
Up on Kmet. I'm sorry, I have. I think he is right there with Adam Shaheen.
Here, BJ wants Kmet and Shaheen back. No. A run-first offense is what's needed. Sure, I agree, man. That's what the Patriots do. They pound you into submission with the run game. They use multiple running backs. They build their offensive line, and then they build a solid defense that can rush the passer. Aldo is back, Dan. Aldo, how long do you have before you have to go?
Well, I was thinking about staying another 20 to 30 minutes. And
okay.
If you guys want to continue, that's up to you guys.
I wanted to talk about, I don't know, you guys have you have Netflix, have you seen The Power of the Dog?
I have not yet. I don't think Dan has either, right, Dan?
No, I haven't.
So the past couple weeks, I've talked about 2 films. Well, this week and last week, talked about a couple films I think will definitely be Oscar contenders for Best Picture, Best Actors. First one was King Richard with Will Smith. We talked about that. This is The Power of the Dog with Benedict Cumberbatch, Kirsten Dunst, Jesse Plemons, and Cody Smith-McPhee. It's a great movie. I would call it smoldering. It's like kind of like a post-Western. You're talking 1925 Montana, and sort of the end of the cowboy era. 2 brothers on a ranch, Jesse Plemons and Benedict Cumberbatch, cattle ranch, Montana. The automobiles are becoming more common, so horse riding is on its way out. It's and then you have Benedict Cumberbatch is a very very intelligent, but he's a dick. He's a jerk. And the reasons why, when you get to the end of the movie, like they show you everything right in front of your face, to build up to what happens at the very last scene. And then you're like, oh, I got it now. I figured out what happened. Because the ending's kind of a, what happened? You're like, but all the pieces are in place. You see them all, you're told about everything, but you just miss it because you're in this performance and acting are so great. The dialogue is great. The story is great. It's not for everybody though, because it's first of all, like, someone asked me, well, I love dogs. It's not about dogs. It's from I forget which Bible quote. I'm not particularly up on Bible verses, but it's from a Bible verse. I believe it's Psalms. Says such and such in The Power of the Dog. It's I would call it smoldering, as what happens at the climax at the end. Kirsten Dunst plays a single mother with Cody Smith-McPhee as her son. And Jesse Plemons ends up romancing and falling in love with her and bringing her to the ranch where he lives with his brother, and they have this cattle ranching business. And there's sort of the bitter resentment to maltreatment from Benedict Cumberbatch, and maltreatment of Kirsten Dunst and Cody Smith-McPhee. Is a very different kind of odd boy who's studying to be a doctor, and he's just he's rail thin. I don't know if you know who Cody Smith McPhee is, the actor. He's like, if he turns sideways, you probably miss him. He's that skinny. So, but it's not for everybody. It's more Brokeback Mountain than like Good, the Bad, and the Ugly Western, or anything like that. But the acting, Benedict Cumberbatch for sure, Best Actor nomination. I would even guess that Kirsten Dunst probably Best Actress, maybe even Supporting Actor for Cody Smith McPhee. But man, when you get to the ending, Aldo, text me and let me know if the ending is what you think it is.
I will definitely check out. I've seen
that's on Netflix.
Yeah, I saw the preview last time I was on Netflix and was thinking about giving it a try, but I didn't. I forgot.
It's a Jane Campion film. I don't know if you know Jane Campion.
Absolutely,
the piano. Yep. And every shot is beautiful. I mean, Montana's been swapped for New Zealand. But I mean, it is just gorgeous to look at. Every shot is framed, every camera angle, all the faces are perfectly framed. The edit, the storytelling, the flow, everything. It's just craftsmanship. You don't get movies like this.
Dan, are you familiar with Jane Campion?
Negative.
You never heard of The Piano? That's the movie where Harvey Keitel is walking around with his penis out.
I've not watched that.
Neither have I. But I don't think I've ever watched a Jane. It's Campion, right? Capion. Tooch?
Yeah, Campion.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't think I've ever watched any of her movies, but I've read about her numerous times because she's this artistic genius when it comes to filmmaking.
It's beautiful. The story is perfectly told. It's based on the Thomas Savage novel. It's called The Power of the Dog Man. It puts everything right in front of you, and then you're like, oh my God, we saw that. I didn't figure it out. But it's something, man. It's not for everybody, but man, I didn't expect anything going in. My wife and I watch it, and we were just like, wow, what a movie afterwards. So this is great.
Oh, maybe I'll give it a shot. Is that something that you'd give a shot to, Dan, or are you fast asleep?
No,
I'm not a Western guy.
You're not a Western
It isn't
guy
really
at
a Western,
all?
though. It's kind of post-Western. It's like takes place in 1925, like I said, like on a cattle ranch in Montana. And just seeing the Benedict Cumberbatch portrayal of the character Phil Burbank is his name. And you won't forget this character, man. The things that he says and does, and he's just a mean person. It's just,
I'm going to interrupt the special bulletin here. This is the first time I've ever seen a dual YouTube account. Amy and Bethany McDonald. Never seen two people. Do you ever share a YouTube account, Dan, with one of your many lady friends?
I don't have a YouTube account.
What?
I hope she's talking
I
about
don't have a
the Bears.
YouTube account.
She's already fired Nagy, and they've already fired Nagy. And all the coaches.
Then when you've gone back to watch this show on video the few times that you have, I know you don't normally do it, but don't you go to
I
YouTube?
usually listen.
Right. But when you have watched it, the one or two times that you have, don't you go to YouTube to watch it?
Yeah, but I don't have an account. I just go to YouTube.
Oh, okay. So you don't want to have an account for a particular reason?
Why would I need an account? I mean, I'm not paying. I don't even think they have YouTube Red anymore, I don't need YouTube TV. I've got regular TV, and I can still watch the video without an account.
Well, an account, correct me if I'm wrong, Tooch, because I think you know this. An account will then allow YouTube to recommend videos based on your browsing. So, for instance, this is a true fucking story. I'm almost tempted to call it up. I have two YouTube accounts, one for the Barroom Network and one my own personal one. And so I don't know how, but somehow on my recommended videos were these TikTok videos of girls with big butts bouncing them around to on TikTok is there's a 7-second clip of music or something, and people, dance to it or do whatever silly thing. And so I get one of these, and so whoa, look at that beautiful butt on that 20-year-old there. And then it stops, and so I scroll down, and there's another one. And then I scroll down, there's another one. Now, every time I log onto my YouTube account, there are all these suggestions of videos of women with bubbly butts jiggling or walking on the street or stuff. And it's like, holy cow, I've created a monster here. YouTube. So maybe it's a good thing you don't have an account, Dan.
Yeah, because all the girls you're looking at were born when W was president.
Yeah, really. Yeah. So I think I'll cancel my YouTube account. Anyway, go ahead, Tooch. You finished with your Jade Campion review of the what's the name of this movie again? The Pig.
It's called The Power of the Dog.
Oh, The Power of the Dog. The Pig is the other movie you told me to watch, the Nicolas Cage one.
Pig. Yeah, did you watch that one yet?
No, I haven't.
See, Dan might enjoy that one too. It's kind of like that one's very well done as well too. And normally when I watch a Nicolas Cage movie, I'm not expecting good acting, Aldo.
He is a strange actor, that's for sure.
He's either like really good or he's plain awful.
Yeah.
You know?
What'd you say, Dan?
I said he's got his first like major role with a major studio in like 10 years coming up. He's going to be playing Dracula.
Really? I had not heard that.
Yeah, it's his first non-low budget movie in a long time.
Is there a famous director attached to this project, or is
I don't know, let me look it up.
Sophia Coppola the good director? I'm just kidding.
God.
That was a bad joke.
I enjoyed Pig. That's the one about the truffle pig owner who gets the truffles and sells them to this kid. I forget the kid's name, but the actor is also
I was looking at that one too.
You'll enjoy this one because Nicolas Cage character is an eccentric giant. Nicolas Cage, like you and I talked off air, I think he's like 6'3". He's a big man, and now he's older, he's a little bit heavier, he's heavier set. He looks like he's about 250 pounds in this movie. The Pig. He's just an imposing figure, I don't want to give too much away about Pig because, again, like that one, everything's revealed. The character's past. He's not really this derelict who lives, off the grid in some shack in Oregon. He actually was a fairly, prominent and famous person in Portland, Oregon. One time before he became the truffle farmer. But
directors, someone named Chris McKay that directed the Lego Batman. And he was involved with Walking Dead. The movie's called Renfield. It's named after like Dracula's like sidekick or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But,
Tom Waits played Renfield one time, I think, right? Tom Waits. You know who the Tom Waits, the singer, songwriter, piano player. I believe that was
you know Tom Waits, right, Dan Aguirre?
Who's he from?
He's a musical artist.
Yeah, I thought you would know him immediately.
Well, what band is he from?
He just was Tom Waits.
Yeah.
What's his hit? Like, maybe I'll know it.
No hits because he's kind of more like Amy Winehouse, that kind of a niche.
I love Amy Winehouse.
Yeah, she's
Leonard Cohen, Amy Winehouse niche, where they
Leonard Cohen,
single singer songwriters in their that vein of. But to me,
I know Amy and Leonard Cohen. I don't really know this Waits guy though.
You'll have to. I'll have to send you a recommendation for one of his albums, which I listen to still once from time to time. But and then King Richard was the other movie, so I watched a couple. Nicolas Cage, that Pig might get nominated for something. I don't know what. Maybe Best Original Screenplay. I don't know. That's I didn't expect much going into it and end up enjoying it. And then King Richard, you got Will Smith's great performance. Mm-hmm. And then The Power of the Dog, man. They're getting ready for Oscar season, although getting in these movies at the last minute, before the year's end, and then March when the Oscars come around.
Dan, are you the type of guy that watches movies that win Oscars or get a lot of Oscar attention?
It depends. I mean, like if you told me, actually one that you did tell me that I should watch and I still haven't is the one that won a couple of years ago that pissed Trump off. When he was like, why do these foreign films win? God damn it.
Yes.
Parasite was great. Was that Parasite?
Yeah, I didn't see Parasite.
Oh, dude.
Usually if someone tells me, this movie's great or something, then maybe I'll give it a chance. But most of the time, the Oscar always goes to something that I don't like,
Interesting. So
Parasite is killer. It's so good.
Yeah, that
Parasite.
I really do believe you'll like it. If you could put up
Yeah.
through the subtitles, you will definitely like it. But
Yeah.
can you think, Dan, of a movie that won an award and you were like, "Fuck no way, I'm going to see that."
Yeah, exactly. I thought of one already. Like, because who was up a couple? I think it was maybe last year or the year before. I was so pissed off because two of my favorite actors, like DiCaprio, was up for Best Actor for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Adam Driver was up for Best Actor for what is it called? It was on Netflix. It's such a good movie, so realistic. Him and what's her name? The really hot girl. She was in De Palma's film about the Black Dahlia. Scarlett Johansson. It's called a Marriage Story or something. But so DiCaprio's up, Driver's up, and they fucking give it to Joaquin Phoenix just because he's playing the Joker. Every time somebody plays the Joker, we have to pretend it's the most, oh my God, it's the most extraordinary. Heath Ledger died, so his performance of the Joker was so great. So not, fuck the Joker.
I gotta tell you though, that I disagree with you. I understand where you're going, and I get it, but that performance was fucking outstanding. That movie is outstanding superhero movie making. To me, one of the best superhero movies, if not the best superhero movie, is that film.
It was an anti-superhero movie and all. It was kind of anti-superhero.
Yeah, the music, the cinematography, a lot of the action scenes. I think 3 major action scenes in that movie were filmed in 70 millimeter process. So the vividness of the imagery during that opening heist at the bank and stuff, and the 2 other scenes, that's just glorious filmmaking. Along with Hans Zimmer's score, it's really great shit, man.
I have a 0% interest in seeing that. I agree with what you're saying. Sounds cool. Like, I'd like to see what that looks like. I'm not trying to besmirch your opinion. I'm just saying, for me, like, I've lost Joaquin Phoenix lost me when he was doing that shit when he grew a beard and was trying to get attention by acting.
That was stupid. Yes,
I love that. Made me laugh.
I like him.
No, I agree with Dan there. That was like so stupid. I love the courage of taking that chance. It's Andy Kaufman.
Like Andy Kaufman. That's what I was gonna say. It's like Andy Kaufman just doing things for shock.
You gotta make it work, man, and he didn't make it work.
What was the payoff for him? Was it a role? Like, what was he doing?
I think that was just
back into the spotlight.
Yeah, right? I don't know what exactly the fuck he was doing, but it was supposedly a ruse. Oops.
Yeah. Did you see the movie where he like fell in love with like the girl's voice of his computer?
Oh yeah, what's the name of that movie?
I can't remember the name of
I actually did like that movie for some reason.
It's not a bad movie. Man, what the hell's the name of that movie? It's the name.
Her, isn't it called Her?
Her, yeah.
Her, yep.
So those people don't know he falls in love with the operating system in his computer. They have even sexual relationship. The sex scene between him and the computer is quite interesting. and the voice was Scarlett
Johansson. Yep.
Yeah. Good movie. I'm trying to remember who was the director of that, because I think it was somebody of note, but the old brain cells are not working well. I wanted to talk about Dexter because
I'm caught up now.
Yeah,
because
Dan. Dude,
I know.
You're gonna have to go away for 10 minutes. But you stick around for where are you at, Tooch, in terms of the season? Or are you caught up?
I haven't started because I haven't had any time. I need to watch everything.
Oh,
like from beginning to end.
Fucking a Dexter virgin.
I know.
It took me.
I wanted to watch it for a long time too. I love Michael C. Hall. I just I never had time. My wife and I, we got Yellow Jackets, then Cowboy Bebop, which is great.
Mm-hmm. Spike Jones directed Her. That's the name. He's a good director. Started off as a music video director.
But Dexter, the original series, I'm told has a very famous bad ending.
David Fincher started out as a music video director.
Okay. Yeah, and he's one of my top 10 favorite filmmakers. So yeah, Tooch, you were saying that first season. What were you saying?
Right,
About
the first series of Dexter has a notoriously famous bad ending for the first season, which is what season?
No,
I disagree with that.
Not first season, first series.
The first the
ending
final
of the last
episode. Hold on, the final episode of the series that ended in 10 years ago, 13 years ago. So fans were upset. What the fuck happened? That's not the kind of ending. It's like people was upset with The Sopranos, but I don't agree with that. I thought The Sopranos ending was okay, but the Dexter ending.
What were people pissed off about? Because of Deb?
Well, yeah. Close your ears, Tooch.
Okay.
So yeah, because of the death of Deb, but also that he just goes away. That he just becomes a miner or a woodsman,
a lumberjack.
A lumberjack, yes, exactly, a lumberjack, and that there was no payoff. There was no, either.
He should have gone with Hannah.
Yeah, exactly. So, so for you do such a great job of explaining series. So for those people who don't know Dexter at all, why don't you fill them in and then give us your personal impressions of the first 8 seasons up until the season that just started now, the reboot.
I think we did this last week, honestly.
Yeah, you're right. I think we did.
With the recap of I mean, I don't mind doing it again. I'm just saying, but I think
just to give some context, because we get a new radio audience every 10 minutes.
So Dexter, again, is a guy that works as what they call it, the blood spatter guy for the Miami Police Department. And he uses his expertise coupled with his childhood trauma. Because when he was a kid, his mother was murdered in front of him, and he was left in a pool of her blood. So he doesn't really know at first that really happened. He kind of suppressed it. But as he starts to remember more and more about that, he uses his expertise and he has this knack for violence, or because again, he was born in it, literally, basically laying in blood and such, and it affected he and his brother, as we would find out at the end of season 1. But so he uses his expertise. He's sort of like a anti-hero, because he kills people, but he kills bad guys, so to speak, like people that have got away with crimes and maybe beat the system,
right?
Or maybe got an early parole, or maybe there was a mistake on the search warrant or whatever. It's someone that beat the fucking system, and he's guilty. He always looks for proof. Like, he doesn't kill somebody just because he got cut off in traffic, or he's a Green Bay fan, or the things that we'd like to do if we were Dexter. Like, fuck you, Aaron Rodgers. Like, we'll see you on the table, sir. It's not like that. It's got to be somebody. He has a quote unquote code that his dad taught him, because his dad thought that he had this. His stepdad, the guy that raised him, he thought that he had this insatiable desire to like hurt animals and hurt people and stuff. So he wanted, right. So he wanted to like harness that for some kind of good, and that was to hurt bad people. So he taught him how to, his dad was a policeman, so he taught him how to not get caught.
Right.
But always do it on principle, don't hurt anybody that's innocent.
Now, the very first season, which is maybe the best of all the seasons, but it's debatable, but there were a lot of references to, not references, but they made Dexter seem like a superhero character, like it was a comic book character, like it was a Marvel action hero. He is Batman, but to the extreme. And then I think Batman is DC. But did you get that impression, or because I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it, and then in subsequent seasons it hasn't been as comic book in feel?
See, I didn't get that impression, but I could be wrong. And again, I watched them all together. Like, it took me about 6-7 weeks or so to watch all 8 seasons. And I went straight into New Blood. I finished season 8 on, I think, Sunday. And then I watched all 5 episodes of New Blood late Sunday into Monday. So I think the Dexter never really jumps that shark for me, because that's the reason I told you I didn't like Fargo. Was because I thought Billy Bob Thornton's character was just so fucking over the top and unrealistic and implausible, and like, what is this guy, a fucking superhero? Just all these things that just he keeps defying, and like it might as well be Michael Myers, for God's sake. But I never really saw the only thing that Dexter has done maybe that makes you say, oh, come on, will be like if he's in a room about to kill someone, then he sees the police are outside, he'll clean the whole fucking scene up in like 30 seconds and be gone.
Right.
Sometimes I'm like, come on, man, there's no way.
Yeah. So you're one of those guys that you just refuse or cannot suspend belief.
No, I can, but I like horror movies.
Okay.
And I love the Terminator. I mean, I know Schwarzenegger's not really coming back to kill Sarah Connor, but within the confines of the story, it makes sense.
Sure.
So I can suspend belief, but if your story is contradicting reality and your story, you know, that kind of bothers me, I guess. You know, I try to suspend belief is what I'm saying, but the Billy Bob Thornton one was so egregiously unrealistic that it just happened over and over and over, where like this guy, I mean, it's like he's like Batman, Superman, like all these things combined.
Yeah, right. That now with Fargo, did you just see that one Billy Bob season, or did you see any of the other ones?
I only watched that one because it was so unrealistic that I was like, fuck this. I've watched too many episodes to not finish it, but I'm going to finish it, and then I'm done with this whole series, because this is a Coen brothers fucking jerk each other off to the same scenes that they always put in every movie. He's playing Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men, whom I like that movie.
Right.
But he's basically playing the same character, but at least Anton had the weapon.
Right.
To explain like how he would get away, you know what I mean? It's like it made sense within the movie. He had that like fucking air thing that he used, you know. You know, it was like he could fill your fucking tires or blow your throat out or break a lot, you know. But it made sense in the movie.
Sure.
But they copied it. It's like they're the same gag over and over. I think they are extremely overrated as directors.
All right. Well, with that,
I hate The Big Lebowski. I hate it.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have anything else to say about Dexter? Because I want to bring Tooch in, and I got a point.
I would love to talk about it.
Right.
Did you want to? I didn't want to just talk about the basic story. I'd love to tell you about some of the things I liked and disliked, and see what you thought.
Sure.
And then veer off into New Blood. It's up to you.
Yeah. Tell me about what you like.
I really like my favorite series. Actually, my favorite season was 5. With the girl, I can't remember how to say her name. It was like it was this different name. The white lady that he saved,
Julia Stiles, wasn't it?
Yeah. But what was her character name? It
was
something,
I'm not good at character names.
Yeah, it wasn't something like Marsha or it was like it wasn't a name that I've heard anyone ever have before.
Yeah.
But yeah, he saved her life from a serial killer, and of course, at first she doesn't believe that he's not part of it. So he helps her get antibiotics and all these things because he's like, God, she didn't do anything wrong. So he's willing to take a risk of getting caught to help her, because this serial killer had all these cuts on her and was going to fuck her up and kill her. And he saved her life. And ultimately, he helped her avenge, because what they were doing, it was a group of white, rich, tell me this doesn't sound realistic, a bunch of rich, greedy white men who have money, and they get together and sex traffic girls, and then they kill them. That sounds like it could be ripped out of the news today.
Yep.
So, in the end, Dexter helps the girl avenge all the guys who are part of it. And then in the end, you think, oh, now he's got a girlfriend. He thinks he's got a girlfriend. He's fallen in love with her.
Right.
And now she's like, oh, I'm moving back to Minnesota.
Yeah.
I'm a big Vikings fan.
Lumen was the name of her character.
Oh, yeah, but I love that season. And I like the one with the really hot British girl, too.
Oh, I think that was season 2, maybe.
Yeah, it was 2. And the cool thing about that is when she got killed, when she got killed, she accepted the fact that she died. And that wasn't even what she was upset about. She cries at the end when he's about to kill her, because she realizes he's not going to love her. It's not that she's even going to die. It's like that the Michael Douglas movie, the Fatal Attraction. She's so in love with him to the very end. She's willing to kill for him, even kills Dokes, burns him up in a fucking cabin, because she wants to help Dexter and wants Dexter to be with her.
Yep.
And she's so hot, man. I love that season too.
Jamie Murray is her name. And for those of you watching on the video part of it, now we might get you to watch the video just so you can see her picture. She's stunning. This woman is
British
stunning.
too.
Wow, is she hot? Yeah, she's incredibly sexy in that season. I always thought she was going to go on to be a huge star, but you rarely see her in anything. And I thought she was not drop dead gorgeous, but also a very good actor.
It was. So you had Dexter with her, all right, and then that didn't work out because he kills her at the end of season 2, and rightfully so, because she tries to kill his fucking stepchildren and everything out of vengeance. And then Rita is killed by John Lithgow, which I know you and everybody else loves John Lithgow in that season. And I'm not a John Lithgow fan, so I didn't hate him. But
I love that season. That is,
it's okay. Don't get me wrong. I think I'm just not a John Lithgow guy, I guess. And then he kills Rita. So poor Dexter loses Rita. He loses the British girl. He loses the girl that goes back to Minnesota, who he loved. And then Hannah, well, it's like you said, is his own doing, though. Why didn't he go with her and Harrison? And then as we find out in New Blood, allegedly, she has died.
Right.
But they could still throw that shit on. Harrison could be lying. Harrison seems like a duplicitous fuck anyway.
Oh my gosh, this guy might be worse than Dexter's dad.
Yeah, I mean, like I knew as soon as he told the story, they're going to say he killed that his friend. There's no way that like he actually was the victim here.
By the way, I need to interrupt you briefly.
Sure.
Stephen Mee from across the pond says that Jamie Murray is a huge star in Britain.
There you go.
Oh man, please recommend something. Hopefully she's great and it's a good show. But if not, I'll still watch it just to see her again. I'm sorry, Dad. Go ahead.
No, that was it. I was just saying that maybe she shows up at the end of the season as like a shock.
Yeah,
or surprise. I like the actress that played her too, but in the end, like that last season was definitely the worst. So the only thing I was really interested in was to find out, will Dexter finally get a girlfriend? And I did kind of want his sister to be with Quinn at the end too. Because Quinn had basically had gone, he fell off the wagon, became a drunk and was sleeping with women he didn't want to sleep with just to overcome depression. And he does everything wrong and then finally rebounds from that and gets strong again, but he still loved her. And she finally admitted to him that she loved him when she got shot. And then of course she has a stroke and dies. So, or Dexter pulls her off the machine.
That's right.
But she had a stroke. They said she was going to be brain dead.
People in the chat room are saying, let's continue to ruin Dexter for me. Like giving away all these spoilers.
I mean, the show ended in 2013.
I know.
So,
but it is the kind of show that you can recommend, to audiences now, and it hasn't aged at all. And this,
except for the flip phones.
Yeah, stuff like that, definitely. But in terms of the storyline and how it works and stuff, and the emotional payoffs and stuff, all still works. I've seen a few episodes just before this new season starts, and it's great. In this new season, I love it. I love the act. The cast is fantastic. The storyline is headed in an excellent direction. He's got a son who might have his own dark passenger, as Dexter likes to say. And what's her name is back. She's just one of the TV's best characters, man.
You mean Deb?
Yeah, Deb. Her foul mouth is just music to my ears, man. She is fantastic.
She was in a fun. I want to say something else about Dexter too, but Jennifer Carpenter's the actress's name.
Correct. Yes.
She was in a fun horror movie called Quarantine, and this is way before COVID.
Yeah.
I like Quarantine as well. I'm glad you saw it then.
Yeah, she's a news reporter who is caught in a building, like a dilapidated building, where everyone in the building is quarantined. It's dark and spooky, and it's a pretty effective one of those reality style horror movies. It's good stuff. And she's.
I just sent you. Yeah, I agree with you. I just sent you an article. Not that I expect you to read it right now because I haven't even read it. but it says why New Blood's humor doesn't work, but the original Dexter did.
Ah, interesting.
So it's someone that obviously doesn't like it. One of the things I loved this week, I don't know if did you watch Sunday's episode?
Yes, I did. I'm all caught up.
I love that Batista was back.
Yeah, great character from the first go around.
He looks the same. He hasn't aged at all.
He does. He might have had a little bit more gray hair and maybe a couple more pounds, but yeah, he looked pretty good. And Deb looks great too. And Dexter, I believe Dexter is wearing a toupee this season. I can't say
is
for
he
sure.
Really?
I think so. Well, he wore one starting, I think, in season 5 or 6 because he had cancer. And so he had to go on chemo. He lost all his hair. And so for a bunch, and then when he got well enough to go play resume the role, he didn't have all his hair back. And so they had to wear a Dexter wig. And so I almost feel like he's wearing one this season too.
I bet I can understand. You know what? I had no idea about that backstory, but one of the things that the lady I was watching at my job with, she and I were talking last week, no shit, that early in the seasons or the show, it seemed like Dexter had light brown hair. Then late in the seasons, it seemed like his hair was red.
Yeah. And
someone even called him a ginger. And I was like, maybe he dyed it early in the show, but like maybe his toupee was red then.
Maybe it was. I'll do some more research on that, but that's a pretty interesting story.
So what about like on New Blood? He just lost it from old age?
I think so, because I've seen him in I want to say I saw him in a movie where it looked like he had a receding hairline. And so I just feel like maybe he wasn't also in a really good British series. What's his real name? The actor's name?
Michael C. Hall.
Yeah, Michael C. Hall.
He was in 6 Feet Under.
He was in 6 Feet Under, but he was in a Netflix series that I think was originally produced for Studio Canal or something out in Europe, and he plays the father of a girl who goes missing, and he starts to pursue her, just follow all these leads. He's a very wealthy guy, and it's all shot in Europe. And I'll have to look for the title, but he's done some really good stuff over the years. And 6 Feet Under, as you said, phenomenal series, man. That was great.
Yeah, I was doing a Google search. Yeah, 6 Feet Under was tremendous. Ooh. It says, is Michael C. Hall a natural redhead? And it says, yes, he is.
Oh.
So I guess he did dye it earlier in the show.
Interesting. All right, I am. Let's see if Tooch is still awake. Tooch.
I wanted to mention a movie to you as well.
Go right ahead.
I maybe somebody already knew about this, but I didn't. Mm-hmm. And I'm not gonna say I love the movie, but it was fun for me watching it at 6 o'clock in the morning. As you know, I'm nocturnal, so which is why I was telling you next week. I was like, man, after the Bears game, I got to go to bed. I got to work 8 to 4. Then I got to go to bed again and get up in 2 hours and go back and work at night. Because that's why I was like, man, doing the audio will be tough for me next week. But you was like, well, everybody works 8 to 4, everyone in America. But I was like, but I've got to work at night too. So I have no chance to listen to sports or anything. I got to sleep. But anyway.
You got the craziest fucking schedule, man, known to man. I'm telling you, man, you kill yourself, dude.
Well, I mean, we gotta earn our money somehow.
I hear you.
The movie though is called The Hunger. It's from 1983, and it starts out with Bauhaus, which is this early 80s like new. It's kind of like new wave metal, I guess you might say, punk metal. Mm-hmm. I saw them perform with 9 Inch Nails once, and anyway, they play a song called Bela Lugosi's Dead, mm-hmm. and they have them actually in the movie. And Susan Sarandon has a lesbian scene in it with the vampire, mm-hmm. and Susan Sarandon's titties are hard as a fucking lug nut, and David Bowie's a vampire. I mean, I was like, how did I not know about this movie? But it was called The Hunger. It's from 1983.
Yeah, I never saw it, but I was well aware of it when it was released and read a lot of articles about it. It's supposed to be a pretty good movie.
I'm not going to tell you that it's like Casino or Goodfellas, mm-hmm. but it was good. It was fun, and I like Bowie. So
yeah. Got to check that out. My bucket list grows longer and longer every time I talk to Tooch and Dan about movies. I'm going to turn it over to you guys. You guys go as long as you want. Just make sure you turn off the lights and don't leave any crumbs out because we don't want any rodents here at the bar. Right?
Well, I mean, if everyone's ready to go, I'll just go home. I mean, like I said, I took off tonight to do a longer show, but if we need to cut it off, man, it's cool.
It's up to Tooch. I got to go, but if Tooch can stay longer, you guys can rap for a while. Tooch, you got to unmute, man. By the way, Tooch, before you respond to that question, I got a bone to pick with you. I go upstairs, right? I nibble on some food and stuff, and I'm thinking to myself, fuck, where have I heard that before? The reality of it is the reality of the
situation.
The reality of the situation.
ROTS.
Yeah, and I realized that was a Draft Dr. Phil bit or a drop.
Oh, was it?
That we had at 100%, 100 proof because he used to say that a lot.
Okay.
Do you remember, Dan, that Phil used to say the reality of the situation is blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that.
I can, now that you say that, I think
if you
so.
put ROTS in a text, the reality of the situation.
I see I got it in my droplet. I still have that. So I'm sure it's gonna. Well, did you see Tooch? He did a bit on your old bit.
Oh boy, that's gonna come back now. All right, well, we could change the name.
You can do whatever you want. I don't care. I do vaguely remember that was a Philism, and we had it on.
Well, I mean, we had Eric Kramer on, and Kramer did this emotional, broadcast with us where he talked to us for 2.5 hours and all this deep stuff, and then the next week they had him on the show as if it didn't happen on ours, and said it was this emotional broadcast.
Really? I didn't hear that. Yeah, you told me about this.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. Again, I'm not denigrating them at all. I wish Shane's boys so well. So I hope Shane's well. I hope Phil's well. I hope their families are well.
I love those guys.
Absolutely.
We did do Kramer that interview and stuff, and then the next week they had it too.
Yeah, it's Eric Kramer doesn't belong to the Barroom Network, and he's allowed to go wherever he wants. But I think I understand what you're saying, though, Dan. They probably would not have reached out to Eric Kramer if it wasn't because they were aware that he goes on shows like ours.
We should get Eric back too, because I was thinking at the time he was telling us that he was going to go to the Bears alumni game against the 49ers, and he had all these thoughts about Fields before the season. So I would be interested to hear what he thinks now and like what he thinks about Nagy and stuff. We should reach out to him.
Totally with you. I would love to talk to him again. And actually, I've been working on a list. I got it somewhere of goal guests that I want to target for us.
Or Gary Fensick. Man,
yes.
That'd be great.
Wasn't that great? I mean, man, I would love to talk to that guy.
Yeah.
He'd be a politician.
Yeah. My only worry in talking to Gary Fensick is, my English has to be perfect.
He's silky smooth, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's so smart. Sometimes when you're talking to somebody who's really fucking smart, you're worried you're going to say something really stupid. The guy's going to be thinking, oh, that guy's grammar. Oh, the filthy mouth. Oh, it seeps into my head all the time.
I'm not going to lie to you. I thought that when you played the David Montgomery soundbite, when he said, there ain't no quit or something that I was like, God, that's a double negative. I thought that as soon as he said that.
Yeah, it happens. And I do it all the time too. I do double negatives and stuff. And sometimes I do it just because I'm lazy. I want to sound cool or something like that. But I sometimes I start to feel a little self-conscious about my sloppiness with linguistics or whatever the fuck it is. Anyway,
the only thing I've ever heard anyone say negative about Fensick ever was McMahon said in his book that Gary thought because he was there longer than everybody that like he deserved that championship. He's like, everybody on this team deserves the championship, but he was like, he was like, cause he's been here since 76 or whatever. He thinks that he's owed something, but I could see why Fensick would feel that way. Like I've been through all the losing here, you know. So I get it.
I get it too. I mean, it's like he said in that interview that only 25% of the players survived Ditka, When Ditka got there, he said, we're going to the Super Bowl. And when they went to the Super Bowl, they were only 25%. So he probably felt this is a little bit more special for us 25%ers because we were here during those tough fucking years when we were losing. So I can kind of get that a little bit from Gary. You know, there is that. You kind of earned that respect.
He didn't play much longer after the Super Bowl, did he?
Mr. Hampton wasn't on the post game this week. I wonder if that's because of the DUI.
I was wondering that, or maybe he was involved in another DUI. Oh, Dan, please don't hurt me, Dan Hampton.
He's not going to appear on our show now.
Yeah, right. Dan Hampton, I'll never forget this. I'll never go to bed at this rate. Dan Hampton, do you remember Mike Adamley, right?
Yeah.
He was a sportscaster.
Bears.
He was the running back for the Bears. Yeah,
right.
He was a good broadcaster for NBC too.
Yes, he starred at Northwestern University for the Wildcats, and the Bears
had a great head of hair.
Yeah. Oh my God, super handsome guy, and he went on to play for the Bears, and then he became a broadcaster. As Dan just said, he was an excellent broadcaster. So they're doing like the Sunday after game Bears review show here on local NBC5. And Dan Hampton is explaining some blocking techniques, and Mike Adamley says, yeah, the offensive lineman is supposed to do this. And so use your hands. And so he starts jabbing Hampton with his hands in his chest, and he's just doing it for like 15 straight seconds. And I'm looking at Hampton's face, and as soon as Adamley stops, Hampton says, don't you ever do that again. And you can tell he was serious, man, because he was just jabbing him and jabbing him in the chest. And by the way, the sad part of the story is that Mike Adamley, I think, is suffering from
he's got
Alzheimer's.
dementia.
Yeah. And that's so sad. And you can kind of sense it in his last couple of years of broadcasting. There were errors going on there that was kind of weird.
You know what he was doing there in the middle 2000s? He went to wrestling. He worked for the WWE and was an announcer for a couple of years.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he worked for WWE maybe 08, 09, somewhere through there.
Tooch, you're a WWE guy? Yeah, you don't.
I wasn't. Yeah,
I was as a kid. I mean, not anymore. You know.
Yeah, I go back to the days of Wilbur Snyder and the Crusher and Dick the Bruiser and stuff. That's when I watched wrestling. Black and white on Channel 26 here, the UHF station in Chicago. They would have wrestling matches every Sunday morning, and then you go to church, or at least catch a portion of church. And Moose Cholak and Wilbur Snyder were the favorite wrestlers. And then it turned into big effing business, man. You got to give that guy credit. What's his name? The guy that
Vince McMahon, the junior.
So effing genius.
Yeah, I liked it up until it became so kid TVG kind of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like from the late 90s, early 2000s. I like the 80s as well, even though it would have been technically TVPG. But it got so watered down and shit when they went public on the, with the company.
Right.
And now they're just satiating everyone's ego, it's got to be safe and it doesn't offend somebody. It's like a bad pop song now in the sense that it's so safe. And I remember Kevin Nash said this one day. He's a guy who used to wrestle. He said that if two kids fight at a bus stop and anywhere in America in the third grade, you're going to hear "fuck you" and "fuck you" from third graders.
Right.
But yet on WWE, you got to hear, "You coward, you fathead," and just shit like that, that people wouldn't really say.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's horrible now. It's just horrible.
It's weird, and it's like in certain aspects we're going backwards in terms of censorship and things that you can say in public television, despite the fact that you get the premium channels and cable TV where, David Kaplan said, "God damn," on cable TV. It's like
he apologized.
He did apologize, but I think that was his radio side, the little radio guy on his right shoulder telling him, "You better apologize." But the TV guy says, "Wait a minute, this is cable TV. I can get away with that." So, it is sad. You're absolutely right. It is sad that there are these restrictions, and it. To me, it spoils the entertainment. And I've been to a couple of wrestling matches to take my nephews to it, and the kids there at the stadium along the ring, those motherfucking kids are like, fuck you, you asshole, whatever these wrestlers' names are. So it gets pretty intense. All they need to do is put the mic. You know what they should do? They should do a Nickelodeon WWE. You know how the NFL does?
Oh, where they like slime you or whatever?
Yeah, they should do that and let the kids swear. That would be perfect.
Or how about the rated R version? Instead of the slime, you get cum on you.
That's my man Dan.
Oh no, he's getting semen. Or what would you say? He's getting semen. Oh God, nobody wants that.
That's good. Brought to you by Nickelodeon and Pornhub.
Take that, Cole Kmet. Drop another pass. You're getting semen.
That is good. I like that. We might have to do a bit on that.
And the next step would be STD infected semen. You're getting semen with the herpes infection.
For every missed tackle, Eddie Jackson.
Yeah, miss another tackle.
Oh, baby. Hey, Tooch, can you stick around with Dan a little longer? Or
Sure.
All right. You guys are the best. Entertain our audiences. And like I said earlier, don't forget to turn off the lights. And I will see people back here tomorrow at 2 p.m. I'll be directing the Bar Down NHL talk with the Parisis. And then I'll be back for Buffon 55 at 7 p.m. to talk football and to get a lowdown on the Packers from Corey Jenner John, I think that's his name, and a good guy who has been with us a number of times in the past. He'll give us the lowdown on the Packers, and then we'll all cry about what's good.
Well, before you go, what's your prediction? Green Bay in a rout?
Yeah, I do believe it's going to be a national humiliation. So I can see Aaron Rodgers, 3 touchdown passes, Dylan 1, so that's 28, couple field goals. Yeah, they're going to lose almost shut out. So it's going to be ugly.
What if Fields plays?
If Fields play, then they're still going to lose, but it'll be a closer game, much like it was with the Cardinals. So it'll be a similar score. What was that, 33-22?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll be listening to the rest as I get my PJs on, guys. So take care, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right.
All right, Aldo. Have a good night.
Got it.
So what are we going to talk about here? Well, I'll give you my prediction. That's a Sunday night. I'm looking at the game. Can you still hear me, Dan? Oh. I think Aldo cut it off, so let me see. There. Okay.
Here, Dan, now?
No, I lost Dan. I was like trying to figure out how to get it back.
What about now? Hello.
Yeah,
Hello.
I hear him now. Yeah.
All right. That's because I left, so I'll just leave that open. All right. Have fun, guys.
All right.
Yeah, because
I was gonna say,
what are we going to talk about? Then I could just hear you like, I was like, man, he can't hear me.
No, I was gonna say I was looking at the game, Chicago Green Bay Sunday night. Right now, it's let me see here, 12.5 points favorite for the Packers, and a total of 44 points. They're predicting, so 44 points. You're looking at maybe 34-10. Could be 28-16, something like that. I could see us getting some field goals. The Bears offense still towards the bottom of the league, ranked 30th overall, the 32nd ranked pass offense. We're only averaging 173 yards per game passing, which is dead last in the NFL. So another feather in Nagy's cap. Packers are, the 7th overall defense. They're good against the pass. They're good against the run. That's why they're, one of the top teams in the NFC. They're 9-3 record. They're right, a half game behind the Arizona Cardinals for the top spot in the NFC. Cardinals 9-2, Green Bay 9-3. Against the spread, Green Bay is 10-2. They are a covering machine. The Bears 4-8. So it doesn't look good for the Bears. I would say that the Bears, their last 5 games, are 0-5 against the spread versus an NFC opponent. So they're not expecting, or I wouldn't expect the Bears to cover. In fact, they're 1-9 against the spread. Their last 10 games on the road versus teams with the winning record. Let's see. Green Bay, on the other hand, they're 4-0 against the spread as a home favorite, 5-0 against the spread their last 5 home games, and 8-1 against the spread in their last 9 games following against the spread win. If you're looking at injuries, they still have they might get David Bakhtiari back for this game, their left tackle. You know, the guy who gets all the calls, holds, you know?
Yeah, he never gets a flag thrown on him.
Never gets a flag, always holds. He's questionable. It'll be his first game back, I think. Let's see. Damian Williams still questionable. Allen Robinson questionable. Akeem Hicks questionable. Fields questionable. Mario Edwards questionable. Let's see.
What did they list Fields as again?
Questionable.
All right, so he's 50-50 right now.
83% of the money for wagering is on the Packers. So that's like includes the public and the sharps all over the Packers so far. Bears defense, number 9 overall. That's the bright spot. We're 23rd against the rush. We haven't stopped the run, you know, like we should. But we're 6th against the pass. We're even better than Green Bay against the pass. So the thing that worries me, though, Dan, about this game is time of possession. I mean, I just don't think – I mean, I think Green Bay is going to dominate time of possession in this game. You know, they're just able to put drives together. Let's see what some of the saying in the chat room. Steve and me, I'm predicting Nick Foles stuns the NFL in 5 touchdowns in a rout of the Packers. While I would love that, it is highly unlikely.
Wow.
Andy Dalton we're looking at probably, right, Danny?
I hope not, but if Dalton could perform that poorly on Sunday, what would it take to get Foles in there? It'd have to be Dalton gets hurt.
Yeah, I think so. And you might even see, you know, Foles, right?
That's what I was saying. For Foles to get in there, I think Dalton would have to get hurt. Because, I mean, Dalton played so poorly on Sunday, like they still didn't put Foles into the game. So it's what I'm saying is I think Dalton would have to get hurt before they would put Foles in.
Yeah, that's a great point. Let's see. Got some more questions in the chat room.
You know, Mitchell Trubisky never threw 4 interceptions.
Right.
But their golden boy, their redhead ginger fuck, Dalton does. I'm just saying.
I keep getting smaller and smaller Aldo letters. That one's probably the best one for if I get a Dan Aguirre picture up with me here. Let's see. Questions from the chat room, fellas. Any questions for Danny or myself? Dalton Foster says Dalton has an injured left arm now from Sunday. This would be his non-throwing arm, though. I still expect Dalton to start unless Fields is healthy. I mean, you want Justin Fields to start. I can understand arguments for both sides. You want him to get that experience, right?
Yes.
Build the kid up. But man, if he were to get injured, boy, you know, I'd hate for like a Tariq Cohen type injury, you know, where it's just there it goes, and we've lost the only really thing that this franchise has going for. That's Justin Fields. I don't know, man. I'm like I said, I struggle to find reasons to watch the game because I'm so done with Matt Nagy. I mean, he may be a nice guy and stuff, but he's just not a coach who's going to lead us to a Super Bowl. I don't even think he can make the playoffs again. He has to. Matt Nagy needs a killer roster to get anywhere in the NFL.
When I'm watching the game, it's just to add to what you said. Like on Sunday, I'm thinking to myself, same old shit. It's the same thing every week. It's the same shit, the same game plan, the same plays. It's just the same old shit. It's time for him to go. And it's obviously not unique. It's not just us who thinks that. It's the whole fucking town and everybody outside of Chicago too.
Yep. Yeah, Joe O'Donnell says, what about Ted Phillips and Ryan Pace? Shouldn't they go in order to rebuild?
I mean,
Ryan
that would
Pace,
be fine with me. I just think Nagy has to go, like before, like at the bare minimum, he's got to go.
Yeah. Matt Nagy, Ryan Pace, both should be gone. Ted Phillips, I don't see him going anywhere unless they just put him in charge of doing the stadium deal and hire, like Fensick said, someone to be the vice president of football operations.
Which could be Pace working on the stadium too.
Yep. Yeah, unfortunately. I think Pace has probably wormed his way into saving his job or getting some other maybe lateral or move or a promotion even. That's the kind of thing that happens, all the time. It's like people who fuck up the worst always get promoted. It's like with this team, there's no accountability. Like I said at the beginning of my rant, there's no accountability.
Exactly. Like Cole Kmet's going to be starting Sunday.
Yeah.
How many passes can you drop?
Yeah, I agree, man. It's like just the best, regardless of draft position or salary, the best player should be starting, man. To me, that'd be like Horsted and James. I'd be sitting Jimmy Graham. Cole Kmet would be the last tight end I would play. I'd play all three of the other guys ahead of him.
Yeah, because he's shown who he is at this point. What was really unfortunate, I hated that Rodney Adams finally got his chance, and then he dropped the pass.
I know. He was wide open to it and went right through his hands. It's just like, oh
man, and that was probably his one shot.
Yep.
I'm sure he won't be active this week if at some point A-Rob's going to come back, I would think, but who knows? Maybe he's just saying fuck it and just sitting out the rest of the year. I mean, Marquise Goodwin should be back soon.
During that, during that montage of radio clips, someone was talking about the wide receivers, how there really isn't anything aside from Darnell Mooney, unless you signed back Allen Robinson. You're going to have to draft a wide receiver, and rookie wide receivers hardly ever pan out, their first year. It takes like 2, 3, sometimes 4 years for a wide receiver to be any good, but if you were to lose Allen Robinson,
you're going to lose A-Rob. You're not going to be able to re-sign him, and he's not going to want to stay here, and you're not going to franchise him. He's gone.
Yeah. The Factor says, Dan, can you paint a scenario where you see the Bears winning? What would need to happen? Be realistic.
Sunday?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
You'd have to knock Rodgers out of the game, wouldn't you?
Well, it's just and I hate this because we always need fluky plays to win.
Yeah.
A tip ball, an interception, a fumble recovery timely, a sack and a strip sacked and recovery. We're going to need some fluky ass plays to go our way. If they could do what they were doing against Arizona with David Montgomery, just running the ball, and really running the ball and controlling the time of possession. Because if Dalton doesn't throw so many interceptions, who knows? Maybe they're in that game. But because Arizona was scoring like off of 17-yard fields. So maybe if they could punch that ball in, well, I think that to answer the question, I think against Green Bay, they're going to have to be able to run the ball, control the time of possession, and get some turnovers and score when they get their opportunities. And that's the problem because Matt Nagy's offense the whole time he's been here is average 16 points a game. Yep. And you're going to have to score more than that.
Yeah, I could tell you right now, Bears average 16.8 yards per game. 16.8 points per game. So,
I think you had the right on the yards too, though.
The Packers are averaging just under 24 points a game. So the thing is
And I
that
think that coach of theirs that I hate, that looks like he would be like on the Backstreet Boys karaoke team.
Right, Matt LaFleur, is that his name? Matt LaFleur, right?
Yeah, but he's like 37-7 as coach. I got to give him credit. I mean, the dude wins.
Yeah, he's got Aaron Rodgers, though. You know? Yep. When you have a competent quarterback, you know, that's what's needed to win consistently in the NFL is the quarterback position being solid. We have never really had that. Hopefully Fields is the answer at quarterback, but you also need a coach that can, you know, develop the quarterback and knows what type of offensive system, game plan, playbook suits that quarterback. Yeah, PJ says
interesting name the other day. Someone suggested I forget who it was. I listened briefly because, like I said, I just got to checked out because, like you said, it's just hard to watch. It's hard to follow. And, you know, but someone suggested that the Bears should give the GM spot to Tony Dungy. At this point, I wouldn't care. Fuck it. Just get these guys out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Tony Dungy would be an improvement over Ryan Pace, you know, and if he surrounds himself with good scouts and advisors. The thing with Ryan Pace to me has always been he was green. You know, you hired someone that probably gave a great interview to George McCaskey. You know, he must have he probably did some classes on how to nail a job interview, you know. And then, you know, George McCaskey was so impressed, you know, and Ryan Pace has that deep voice, you know, which makes him sound authoritative.
He's really in shape, has good hair.
Yeah. Yep.
Had a good suit on.
Had a great suit, had a good haircut.
Probably wore a Saints championship ring.
Yep. The dude that they should have hired was already in the building, Chris Ballard. He's built a nice roster over at the Colts. You know, drafted Jonathan Taylor, drafted a bunch of good offensive linemen. Defense hasn't been bad. He hired a coach who's a former NFL player. You know, Matt Nagy, did he play in the NFL? He played
just a moment. No, he played in the Arena League.
I gotta
have a station off air. I'm sorry. I got to go rectify it. I'm still at work. Hang on just a moment. I'm sorry. I'll be right back.
All right. I will talk to her. Let's take some questions. So, Matt Nagy, the coach who has made you feel the most hopeless of any Bears coach factor. I've said this before. Yeah, I feel hopeless with this guy as coach. I mean, with Mark Trestman, he was gone in 2 years. They made the right decision, fired him after 2 years, which they should have made the same decision with Matt Nagy. I actually thought that John Fox and Dowell Loggins had a better offensive system for the quarterback who was in place. That was Mitch Trubisky, as much as I hate to say it. And I think a lot of Matt Nagy's success in 2018 was to the locker room and roster that John Fox and Ryan Pace had built, and nothing to do with Nagy. I think John Fox probably would have had a similar record as Matt Nagy in 2018. PJ, what does loyalty to players mean in today's NFL? Yeah, I mean, loyalty, it doesn't matter as much anymore because they're making huge salaries. So it's rare. It's rare. Stephen Me says, Marv Levy is only 95. He's still got a couple good years left. Maybe he could get us to the Super Bowl 4 times and instead of losing 4 times, win.
I wonder if he took Virginia out at some point when they were kids.
Yeah. You know, I posed the question. I think that, you know, the McCaskey family, with the exclusion of Virginia, would be thrilled to sell the franchise after she's gone if, you know, it was worth a lot more and the value was increased by that, you know, sports stadium fan experience complex in Arlington Park.
I agree.
Yep. I think that's what they're going to, that's going to be their focus, is getting that deal done and increasing the value of the franchise. And if Virginia happens to pass away, they'll probably have enough sway, enough votes to give the go-ahead to sell the team. Someone's got a question for you, Dan. It's if Matt Nagy has Matt Nagy made you feel the most hopeless of any Bears coach?
Wow, good question.
Yeah, I answered it while you were away for a second, and I said yes.
I don't know. That 2014, the second half of the year,
Mark Trestman.
Yeah, that felt, and that 3-13 year with Fox in 2016 too. I mean,
And that was his first year, right? Fox.
Second year. He was there 15,
year, right.
and they did okay. And then the next year, it's a complete they beat Green Bay in 15.
Right.
Cutler had a good year with Adam Gase there, but the next season, just everything fell apart. And that's probably the most hopeless I felt was in 2016, honestly.
Right, that was Mike Tice's offensive coordinator, or was that?
Tice was there with Lovey in 2012.
Okay, right. Tice was there with Lovey.
Now, I think Fox is a better coach than Nagy, but
I agree.
Felt that 3-13 year was about as low as I felt ever as a fan in 2016. That's the year we had Brian Hoyer and Matt
Barkley.
And Josh Bellamy, it just was horrible.
Josh Bellamy was our number one wide receiver that year.
Josh Bellamy is my least favorite Bear of all time.
Yeah. PJ says John Fox would have had a better record than Nagy if he had Khalil Mack, and I can't disagree with that. I while you were away, I said that that roster that Matt Nagy inherited. In 2018, I think John Fox would have probably had a similar or better record than Matt Nagy that year. Who probably would have done the same thing,
or even if they had hired Vic instead of Nagy.
Yeah. Yep. Foster says Bears are worth $40 billion now. A stadium deal would make it 10 times that worth 10 times as much. That would I can't disagree with that either. I mean, a stadium complex owned by the Bears in Arlington Park, where they control all concessions, the whole fan experience, perhaps put up a casino, hotel, 4 or 5 star restaurants, maybe even like a giant sports bar for overflow crowds. Make it a whole experience. And then Sal, they'd go out on top, man. Just like generational wealth for a long time, $400 billion.
What if Denver would fire Vic Fangio? Would the would people be happy if they said, "Fuck it, we're hiring Vic as the head coach"?
I think fans would probably be okay with it until they discover that Vic probably doesn't understand offense, or he would have to really find someone that could, like for Belichick, the Josh McDaniels. He would have to find his Josh McDaniels,
Oh, but wouldn't be Jason Garrett?
Yeah, Jason Garrett was just fired, I think, right? From the
no, we don't want that guy.
Right, from the Giants. Was he on the Giants? Right?
Yeah, former Dallas third stringer with the Cowboys.
Right. Eddie Jackson, we talked about, right, with the kind of players that you needed around Eddie Jackson. I kind of like a safety that doesn't need players around him to be good. That's just me. I liked a few safeties coming out. We don't have good safeties play right now.
We haven't had a good safety since Mike Brown.
Yeah. Yep. Stephen Me says he'd rather have Rex Ryan and his foot fetish. I don't know. PJ says Fangio is my number one choice as head coach. Shermer is a good offensive coordinator, and they do have a strong running game. They also have Javonte Williams, who's a pretty damn good running back there in Denver. They run the ball up. They don't have the quarterback position settled with either Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater. That's really hurting them. It all comes down to the quarterback. I think the Bears have one that could possibly solve the position. You just have to have a coach. Man, someone who can lead the team. Nagy was hired as a coach with no experience as a head coach. he wasn't even a good offensive coordinator in Kansas City. I think he was relieved of play calling duties while he was offensive coordinator under Andy Reid. Then you have Ryan Pace. He was never a GM. Young guy, didn't run much. I think he was like a scouting director for the Saints. Like you said, he just had a good interview, Danny. That was it. Let's see. When was the last time? A Factor says, when was the last time you guys cried over a Bears game or season? Gosh, I'm ready to cry now. I'm just like, I want it to be over. I'll cry if it'll be over.
I can answer that. I think I really have the answer.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but this is the truth. It was ironically at Kansas City in 15, the Bears early in the year, it was like week 5, and they had to go to KC, and we were starting. God, what was the center that went to school with Kyle Long that we had drafted?
Hronis Grasu.
Yeah, Grasu started his first ever start because the guy we had signed before the week before, his last name was Montgomery, Will Montgomery, I think.
Yeah,
he broke his leg in the Raiders game.
The Chiefs center. So he was the Chiefs center.
Well, he broke his leg and never played again for us, and so we signed or started Grasu, and they had no wide receivers. That was the first day that Cam Meredith was activated at wide receiver, whom at the time was a former quarterback off the practice squad. It was like Cam Meredith and Marquise Wilson were playing at wide receiver, so they had no wide receivers. Yeah. It was basically Jay and Forte, and they were down 17-6 late and came all the way back to win with like 30 seconds to go. And I'm not going to lie, when he threw the touchdown to Forte, I remember Sam Rosen on the call. It was a bad snap. Imagine that. And Rosen says, he dropped the ball. Cutler picks it up. He hits Forte for a touchdown, and the Bears have the lead. No, I cried.
That was a great game.
I cried, man, because it was so improbable. And the week before when we came back to beat. No, it was that same game. Sam Rosen was working with John Lynch. And on the replay, John Lynch said, because Rosen said their two best players, and he said, but Sam, I'm telling you, their best player and probably most underappreciated player is Jay Cutler, and he's led 2 back-to-back wins now and 2 comeback from behind wins in back-to-back weeks. And I know that I was like so prideful of that because I was such a Cutler dick sucker, the whole time with the Bears. So yeah, I did cry that day for real.
Nice. Boy, I can't remember when like I said, I'm ready to cry now. Foster says,
I'm happy though. I cry and I'm happy.
I might cry tears of happiness when we get the news of Nagy's release.
I hear you on that.
If it's a Tressman like 50-point defeat, you think Nagy they'll finally fire a coach during the season?
I mean, they'd have to take advantage of that new rule.
Yeah,
why wouldn't you? I don't know.
Because it is the Factor says 2 bets against the Bears. Well, I mean, I knew that they weren't going to win against the Cardinals. I knew they weren't going to win against the Rams. I might as well make some money. So it's like,
even if they would upset Green Bay, you can't be fooled into thinking that this is our guy. He has to be fired.
Yeah, I agree. If he even if he pounds if it's a 52-7 win, Bears beat the Packers, which will never happen. But if it was, he should still be fired.
I agree. The scary thing is he's got Green Bay on Sunday night and then Minnesota on Monday night. The next 2 games are in prime time.
Yeah.
For the whole nation to see.
Yep.
And he's obviously been fucking awful in prime time after 2018.
Yeah. And
started with Cody Parkey, and then after that he's just shit the bed every time we're in prime time.
Do you think it's possible that George McCaskey is waiting to see how Matt Nagy does in these 2 primetime games, or at least one of these primetime games?
I don't know. I mean, if I were George McCaskey, I literally would have fired him earlier. If I were Ryan Pace, I would have tried to fire him earlier in the season to try to save my own ass at this point, to differentiate me from him. I don't know why they didn't. I can't explain it, why he wasn't fired earlier in the season. Maybe after the Pittsburgh game when you had the bye, would have been a good time to fire him and turn it over to your interim coach and give him a week off so he could get set up and ready to run shop.
Yeah, I totally agree. Let's see if we got some other questions in the chat. Foster says Ron Rivera was the ideal coach for the Bears. Lovey got rid of him because he knew if like Ron Rivera was there, it'd be easy for management to fire Lovey Smith and just insert Ron Rivera in there.
Truth.
Yeah. So that's why, that was a power move by Lovey Smith,
And then he gave it to Greg Babbage, and he didn't do shit. The 07 Bears went 7-9 and didn't make the playoffs.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of the defensive success. Lovey was a pretty good defensive coordinator. He had the philosophy, you make teams throw the ball in front of you, make the play, try and get the turnover, whether it's the interception or punch out the ball, the fumble. Make them go a long ways, the whole field. You need 14 plays to get to the.
Lovey's system didn't work after Mike Brown was too beat up.
Right.
And couldn't make adjustments when he didn't have a great safety. Like Green Bay repeatedly would just run a slant route or run a route behind Urlacher in front of the center or in front of the safeties. And there was just nothing we could do about it. They could tell us where Rodgers could say, this is where I'm throwing the ball. And the Bears absolutely couldn't stop it because they wouldn't make adjustments. They play that cover 2 to death. Everybody knew how to beat it. And unless you had an elite safety and Urlacher running his ass off as a young player, when he got a little bit of age on him and Mike Brown was just so banged up, that system didn't work anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Mike Brown. One of my all-time favorite Bears players.
Absolutely.
PJ says Rivera's contract was up. Lovey didn't fire him.
But he forced him out, though. Like, he didn't want him back. And Lovey had just led the team to the Super Bowl, so they're going to do whatever they can to placate Lovey. Because keep in mind, Lovey had the smallest contract in the league at the time, and he just led a team to the Super Bowl. So they tore that contract up and gave him a new deal. And one of the things he wanted was a different defensive coordinator.
Yep. Yeah. And the same or similar thing happened with Dick Duran. When Dick Duran was named coach of the year, he got a big contract. Then I think he was gone within a year or two after that. He went 4-12 his final season, right? Something like that.
No, he went 7-9 his last year.
7-9 his last season.
4-12 and 02, but they had all those injuries and were playing in Champaign. So they gave him a break on that, which he deserved. And then in 03, he went 7-9. So you could still say the team was in better shape then in 03 for Dick to come back in 04 than it is now with Nagy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what year was it that Duran was named coach of the year, though?
2001.
2001. That says. So he had Urlacher and Brown in their prime there, right?
Yeah, well, what happened in 01, they went 13-3 and lost to the Eagles. And then, in week 2 of the next year, they lost Ted Washington for the year.
Yeah.
And so you lose Ted Washington, and then everybody else started getting hurt as well. But that was the main thing because Urlacher couldn't fight off blocks. I know everybody in the Bears organization or fandom loves Urlacher, but Urlacher would get hammered repeatedly by Corey Schlesinger as a fullback or Jim Saucer, and he couldn't get off of blocks. So, but that one year they had Keith Traylor and Ted Washington there, and nobody could get to him. So those two big horses up front, 8 people up, and then Urlacher was free to roam and hit everybody. So, and then when Lovey came in, he put him in that system where he just backpedaled constantly. So he again was free from getting hit by the fullback because he couldn't slip off of blocks. You remember the Jerome Bettis running over Urlacher in Pittsburgh?
Yep.
In the snow, and he just ran all over him. I mean, Tom Brady, 06.
Yeah, juked him.
Tom fucking Brady broke Urlacher's ankles with a fake.
remember that.
Tom Brady.
I know.
And why is he still in the league? Can somebody please hurt Tom Brady? I want a Joe Theismann entry at this point. Get this guy out. People are saying, "Oh, well, New England and Tampa in the Super Bowl." I would rather kill myself. The only team I want less than Tampa or New England is Green Bay. That's it. I don't want to see anybody else. I mean, God, I'm sick of the Patriots. I'm sick of Brady, and I never want Green Bay to win. So, God, anybody else? The fucking Vikings. I would want Kirk Cousins to win a Super Bowl before Tom Brady to win another.
Foster says, I was pissed when that punk Rodgers said, "I own you." You know, are any of the Bears going to, do anything about it Sunday night?
They should, but he was right. The Bears have won one game since then. One game, and it was against Detroit on Thanksgiving.
I'm not sure that this roster can do anything about it. There's no Mac. The only guy really rushing the passer is Robert Quinn. You got to blitz Roquan Smith in order to get pressure these days.
Gibson's doing okay, 99.
Yeah, he's all right. Yeah. It's a player you can use in the future. Next regime
cut Bruce Irvin today?
What's that?
Did the Bears cut Bruce Irvin?
I don't know. I
thought
saw that
he was going to go back to the practice squad.
The Saints cut Kenny Stills after a key drop in the last Saints game. I mean, the Bears are pretty short-handed at wide receiver. Kenny Stills, a veteran. He wouldn't be bad there.
No, fuck him. His dad was the Packer that took the cheap shot on Matt Suey in '85. We don't want Ken Stills or Ken Stills' DNA here. Fuck him.
No Ken Stills. Aaron Rodgers says his toe injury is improving after the bye week.
I'm so mad about Rodgers. Rodgers does that, bullshit, lying about. People have different political views. I get it, but the fact is, he did lie over the vaccine. He gets a smack on the fucking hand, gets a $4.79 fine, and people like Antonio Brown get suspended. But Rodgers, nothing happens to Rodgers. He's the golden boy.
Yeah.
Why didn't he get suspended? He fucking lied about the vaccine. They had the audio of him saying, "I'm immunized," and he was telling everybody that he was vaccinated. And everybody knows that's what he was implying. That's exactly what the point he was trying to convey. He misled everybody. And so if you're going to suspend Antonio Brown and whomever else, there's a couple of people that got suspended, why not Aaron Rodgers? But, oh, no, we've got to suck his dick at every step of the way. Stuff like that about the NFL just drives me crazy.
Yeah, politics.
They act like this guy is Brady. I get it if you're going to help Brady at this point because he's 70 years old. He's won 30 championships. I get it. You got to keep coddling Brady. But, Rodgers won one title over a decade ago, and they act like he's the
– Yeah, it's a sustained success levels. Yeah. The Factor wants to know, Dan, do you believe Aaron Rodgers had a homosexual relationship that was rumored in the past? What's your gut feeling? Oh, are you still there? I think we lost Danny. I agree with PJ here. The roster is depleted now. Green Bay just too stout up front. On defense. Yeah. It's a lost season, and I think that's why people, fans, myself included, are struggling to find reasons why we should watch the games anymore this year, especially if it's just going to be more of the same Nagy and I have a sense of dread that we're going to get pounded and embarrassed Sunday night and then again on Monday. Danny, you still there? Okay. I will close out the show and we'll see you next week. Everybody, Barroom Barflies, enjoyed being here with you again. Hit me up on Twitter at John Santucci VIP. You can see get free wagering tips on the Maximum Edge podcast, which is broadcast on YouTube and Twitter. and every day I give out a free play. Danny says, good night to everybody out there. He'll see you again next week, and I will close out the show. For Aldo Gandia and Dan Aguirre, John Santucci, call me Tooch. And good night, everybody, and thanks for all the great comments in the chat room. We'll see you next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Central. Have a good night.